The sages of old left a quiet truth, a key left resting on a stone table for anyone still enough to notice it. They said that the world you see outside yourself is but a mirror of the world that exists inside yourself. You do not see people as they are, you see them as you are. Every judgment you cast, every interpretation you make, every reaction that floods your senses is a reflection, an echo of your own inner landscape. We have spent our lives trying to understand the world by polishing the mirror, by analyzing its surface, by trying to decode its infinite and often painful reflections, never realizing the image can only become clear when the one who is looking becomes still. This is a journey into that stillness. This is an invitation to step behind the mirror. What if you could learn to listen not to words, but to the silence from which words are born? What if you could feel the tremor of fear beneath a wall of arrogance, or the ache of loneliness behind a practiced smile? What if you could perceive the raw, unspoken motive that animates another human being, the hidden current of their soul that directs the ship of their actions? This is not about gaining an advantage. It is not about learning a trick to win a game. It is about freeing yourself from the confusion, the hurt, and the exhaustion of trying to navigate a world you cannot truly see. It is about understanding the human condition so deeply that you are no longer a victim of it, in yourself or in another. This is not magic. It is a faculty of perception that has been buried under the noise of your own mind. It is the art of soul sight, and it begins not by looking more intently at the world, but by learning, for the first time, how to quiet the world within you. The journey to see through others is truly the journey back to the silent, observing center of your own being. From that sacred space of inner quiet, the truth of everything and everyone reveals itself without effort. So let the world outside fall away for a time. Find the space between your thoughts, and let us begin. There is a space within you that is silent. It has always been there. It was there before your first thought, and it will be there after your last. This space is not a void. It is not an emptiness. It is a field of pure awareness, a silent witness to the entire drama of your life. This is the silent observer. You have felt it in moments of profound peace, perhaps looking at a vast ocean, or in the stillness after a storm. For a fleeting second, the incessant chatter in your head subsides, and in its place, there is just being. There is just a quiet, knowing presence. This presence is the truest part of you. It is the beginning of all clear perception. We live our lives believing we are the noise. We identify with the voice in the head, that relentless narrator that comments, criticizes, worries, and plans. This voice tells you who you are. It replays your past. It rehearses your future. It is the source of your anxiety, your pride, your fear, and your sorrow. It is a ghost in the machine, a phantom self constructed from memory and projection. And because we believe this voice is us, we look at the world through its eyes. We hear other people through its ears. We mistake its frantic interpretations for reality. This is the primary veil. This is the source of all illusion. Before you can ever hope to see another person clearly, you must first distinguish yourself from the noise that is constantly telling you what you are seeing. Imagine your mind is the sky. It is vast, open, and limitless. Your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations, they are the weather. They are the clouds that drift across the sky. Some days, the clouds are dark and heavy, filled with the rain of sadness or the lightning of anger. They are thunderstorms that seem to consume everything. On other days, the clouds are light and wispy, fleeting thoughts that barely cast a shadow. And sometimes, the sky is perfectly clear, a brilliant, vibrant blue of joy and peace. Through all of this, have you ever seen the sky be harmed by the weather? Does a storm leave a scar on the sky? Does the sky cling to the sunny days and desperately push away the rain? Number, The sky is the space that allows all weather to be. It is the container, not the content. The sky does not say, "I am this storm cloud." The sky simply holds the storm cloud and allows it to pass. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. The silent observer is the sky. It is the vast, unchanging awareness that witnesses the ever-changing weather of your inner world. The first step in this journey is to realize you are the sky. It is a shift in identification. It begins with the simple act of noticing. Right now, as you listen, a thought may arise. Perhaps it is a thought about these words, or a thought about your day. Do not try to stop it. Do not judge it. Simply notice it. See it as a cloud drifting through your mental space. And then, gently, ask yourself a question. Who is it that is noticing this thought? In that moment, a subtle shift occurs. You have created a space between the thought and the one who is aware of the thought. In that gap, in that space, you will find the silent observer. You have stepped back from being the cloud and have remembered for a moment that you are the sky. This practice is not an aggressive act. It is an act of gentle allowance. When a powerful emotion arises, like fear, do not fight it. Do not try to reason it away. The voice in your head will immediately create a story around the fear, feeding it, justifying it, making it seem solid and real. Instead, simply feel the energy of the fear in your body. Notice the tightness in your chest, the knot in your stomach, and again become the sky. Acknowledge there is fear here. You are the space in which the storm of fear is happening. You are the silent, strong, unshakable awareness that is witnessing it. You are not the fear. You are the one who knows that fear is present. This is a profound liberation. When you are no longer possessed by your emotions, you can finally learn from them. You can see them for what they are: transient energy, passing weather. So how does this relate to seeing others? It is everything. When you are identified with the clouds of your own mind, you see everyone through that filter. If you are living under a persistent storm cloud of insecurity, you will interpret a neutral comment from someone as a criticism. Their words are filtered through your weather. If you are living with clouds of past betrayal, you will see potential treachery in the most innocent actions. You are not seeing the other person. You are seeing the shadow of your own clouds projected onto them. You are having a conversation not with them, but with the voice in your own head about them. This is why relationships become so complicated, so filled with misunderstanding and pain. Two people, each lost in their own internal weather system, trying to communicate through the fog. But when you learn to rest as the sky, as the silent observer, something miraculous happens. You create a space of inner silence. You are no longer reacting from a place of old wounds or habitual thought patterns. You are present, and in this presence, you can perceive another person directly without the distortion of your own mental noise. You can feel the energy behind their words. You can sense the weather pattern that they are currently lost in. You see that their anger may not be about you at all, but is simply the thunderstorm they are currently experiencing. You see that their need for approval is the particular shape of their own clouds, born of their own history. You begin to see that they too are the sky, but they have forgotten. They believe they are the storm. And in this seeing, there is no room for judgment. There is only room for a deep, quiet understanding. Compassion arises naturally, not as a moral duty, but as a result of clear perception. You see their struggle, you see their pain, you see their forgetting, because you have first seen it in yourself and found the way back to the stillness that lies beneath. This is the foundation. Without this, all other techniques for reading people are just more games played by the ego, more tricks for the voice in the head to feel powerful or safe. They are attempts to analyze the clouds of another person using your own cloudy mind. It will only ever lead to more confusion. The real work is not an outward investigation. but an inward remembrance. Remember that you are the space, not the content, the witness, not the thought, the sky, not the cloud. Practice this. In moments of quiet, feel the stillness that is always there, beneath the surface of the mind. When turmoil arises, step back and witness it. Be the space for it. This is your training ground. The more you abide as the silent observer in your own being, the more transparent the world will become to you. You will begin to look at people and see not just the mask they present, but the silent truth of the sky within them, waiting to be remembered. Having found the silent, watchful space within, the sky of your being, you begin to notice the quality of the air itself. You see that the light that enters your world is not always pure. It is bent, colored, and sometimes distorted by an invisible filter that stands between you and reality. This is the lens of your past. It is the single most powerful instrument shaping your perception of others, and for most of your life, you have not even known you are wearing it. You mistake the view through the lens for the world itself. To see clearly, we must now turn our awareness to this intricate and deeply personal artifact. We must learn to see the lens, instead of only seeing through it. Imagine that on the day you were born, you were given a pair of glasses with perfectly clear lenses. But with every significant experience, a residue was left behind. The harsh words of a parent left a small scratch. A moment of profound betrayal etched a hairline fracture across the glass. The persistent feeling of not being enough left a subtle, greasy smudge that is difficult to see directly, but which blurs everything. The warmth of a genuine kindness polished a small spot to brilliant clarity, while the cold sting of rejection tinted a corner with a hue of grey. Over years and decades, these experiences accumulate. Your lens is no longer clear. It is a complex mosaic of scratches, tints, smudges, and fractures, entirely unique to you. It is the sum of your history, worn directly over your eyes. And the mind, accustomed to the view, has long since stopped recognizing that it is looking through a filter. It proclaims, with absolute certainty, this is how the world is. This is why you can stand next to someone, look at the exact same event, and have a completely different experience. You are not seeing the same event. You are each seeing it through your own unique, history-laden lens, where one person sees an opportunity, another, whose lens is scratched with the memory of failure, sees only risk. Where one person hears constructive feedback, another, whose lens is smudged with the belief of their own unworthiness, hears only condemnation. The world is not delivering a single reality to you. You are co-creating your reality, moment by moment, through the act of perception, an act governed by the invisible architecture of your past. Let us look at some of these prescriptions. If your early life was defined by scarcity, by a feeling of not enough, your lens will be ground to see competition and lack everywhere. A friend's success is not simply their joy, it is subconsciously processed as something taken from you. A colleague who receives praise becomes a threat. You operate from a place of defending your small territory, because your lens constantly projects a world where resources are limited and everyone is a rival. You cannot see the genuine generosity in another's actions because your filter is designed to spot the hidden angle, the self-interest, the threat to your survival. You are not reacting to the person in front of you. You are reacting to the ghost of hunger from your past. Or perhaps your lens was etched by abandonment. A parent who was emotionally or physically absent, a first love that ended in a sudden departure. This lens tints the present with a constant, low-grade fear of being left. A friend who needs a night alone is not just a friend taking care of themselves. Through your lens, it is the beginning of the end. A partner who is quiet and distant for an evening is not just tired, they are pulling away. And the panic that rises in you is not proportional to the moment. It is the full, unhealed agony of the original wound, triggered and relived. You then react to this imagined catastrophe, perhaps by becoming clingy or accusatory, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. You see, the lens does not just color reality, it actively shapes it through the reactions it provokes in you. Consider the lens of unworthiness, forged by a childhood of criticism, of being compared to others, of never quite measuring up. This lens is a master of distortion. It filters out compliments, dismissing them as insincere or as simple politeness. But it acts as a magnifying glass for any hint of criticism. You could receive 10 compliments and one minor suggestion for improvement, and the only thing that will feel real, the only thing your mind will latch onto and replay for days, is that one suggestion. It is the evidence your lens was built to find. This lens ensures that no matter what you achieve, you never feel a lasting sense of peace or accomplishment. The view is always skewed towards your own perceived inadequacy, and so you project that inadequacy onto others, assuming they see you as harshly as you see yourself. The silent observer, that quiet space you have discovered, is your only tool to begin this work. It does not allow you to take the glasses off, not at first. The lens is fused too closely to your identity, but it allows you, for the first time, to become aware that you are wearing them. The practice is this. When you feel a strong, immediate emotional reaction to someone, a trigger, pause. Do not act. Do not speak. Retreat into the sky of your awareness and ask, what lens am I looking through right now? Is this feeling truly about this person, in this moment, or does it have the familiar taste of an old story? Is this the abandonment lens? Is this the scarcity lens? Is this the unworthiness lens? In that moment of conscious inquiry, you perform an act of profound self-liberation. You separate the present moment from the weight of your entire past. You are no longer a puppet of your history. You are an aware being, capable of seeing both the trigger and the old wound from which it springs. This is not about blaming the past or remaining its victim. It is the opposite. It is about reclaiming your power by taking absolute responsibility for your perception. You realize, they did not make me feel this way. Their actions simply touched a pre-existing, sensitive part of my lens, a part that is mine, to understand and to heal. When you see someone through this new awareness, compassion becomes inevitable. You begin to understand that they, too, are wearing their own powerful, distorting lens. Their arrogance might be a defense against a deep scratch of shame. Their coldness might be a thick, tinted shield built to protect them from a fracture of betrayal. You stop taking their behavior so personally because you realize it is likely not about you. It is about the story they are living, the view from behind their own eyes. This awareness of your lens is the second great key to soul sight. It is the beginning of intellectual and emotional sobriety. It allows you to question your own automatic perceptions, to introduce a sacred pause between seeing and interpreting. And as you become more familiar with the contours and colors of your own filter, a new question will naturally arise. If my thoughts and interpretations are so deeply colored by the past, what is real? What information can I trust? This question forces us to move beyond the realm of the thinking mind altogether. It guides us into a more direct, more primal way of knowing, a way that is felt before it is thought. It leads us to the universal, unbiased language of the soul, the currency of energy. Having recognized the powerful, distorting lens of your past, you are left with a profound and unsettling question. If my own thoughts cannot be trusted, if my interpretations are merely echoes of old wounds, then what is real? What can I rely on to navigate the world? The answer does not lie in finding a better thought or a more clever analysis. The answer lies in bypassing the thinking mind altogether. It lies in learning to perceive a language that is more ancient than words, a currency that is exchanged in every interaction, a truth that is felt before it is ever formulated into a concept. This is the language of energy. It is the raw, unfiltered data of existence, and your body is the instrument designed to receive it. For too long, we have been taught to be numb from the neck down. We live in our heads, in the world of logic, reason, and verbal communication. We have been conditioned to believe that truth is an idea, something to be grasped intellectually. But the deepest truths are not ideas. They are states of being. The energy of a person, of a room, of a situation is one of those truths. You have always felt it. You call it a vibe, a gut feeling, an intuition. It is the inexplicable sense of ease you feel with one person and the subtle draining tension you feel with another, even when their words are perfectly pleasant. It's the feeling of walking into a room right after an argument has occurred. The air itself feels thick and heavy with unspoken resentment. This is not imagination. This is your dormant perceptual capacity, sensing the energetic residue in the space. This is you, reading the currency of energy. The most powerful metaphor to understand this is to see words as a boat and energy as the current beneath it. The boat is what is visible. It can be painted in beautiful colors. It can fly a flag of peace. Its captain can be shouting friendly greetings. This is the surface level of communication. The words chosen, the smile worn, the story told. We are trained to focus only on the boat, but the current, the deep, invisible river of energy flowing beneath, is what holds the true power. It dictates the real direction and the real speed. A person can be steering their boat of words directly towards you, saying, "I support you, I am here for you." But if the current of their energy, their true, unspoken intention is flowing in the opposite direction, you will feel a drag. You will feel a subtle pulling away, a dissonance, a lack of congruence that leaves you feeling confused and exhausted. Your mind heard the words, but your body felt the current. The journey of soul sight is the journey of learning to trust the current more than the boat. Consider this. A loved one asks you how you are, and you reply, "I'm fine." Those words are the boat. It's a small, simple, socially acceptable vessel. But what is the current beneath it? Perhaps the current is one of deep sadness, and it feels heavy, slow, and cold. Perhaps it's a current of anxiety, and it feels frantic, choppy, and electric. Or perhaps it's a current of genuine peace, and it feels calm, wide, and flowing. The person who has learned to feel energy will not just hear the words, "I'm fine." They will feel the truth of the current beneath them. They will feel your sadness, your anxiety, or your peace. This is the heart of true empathy. It is not imagining what someone feels. It is the direct perception of their energetic state. So, how do you learn to feel this current? You must shift your attention. It requires a conscious decision to move your focus from your head, the seat of analysis, down into your body, the seat of feeling. Your body is the ultimate receptor of energetic information. Your gut, your heart space, your very cells are constantly reacting to the energetic environment. The practice is simple, but it requires consistency. The next time you are in a conversation, try this. Listen to the words for a minute, and then deliberately let them fade into the background. Bring your awareness inside your own body. Notice your posture, notice your breath, and then focus on the feeling in your chest and your abdomen. As you stand in this person's presence, does your body feel like it is subtly opening or closing? Does it feel relaxed or does it feel tight? Is there a sense of warmth, of expansion, or is there a sense of coldness, of contraction? Do not try to name it or analyze it, just feel it. This is the raw data. This is the current. All energy, in its essence, can be felt as one of two things, expansive or contractive. Expansive energy feels like love, truth, joy, sincerity, and authentic confidence. It is an opening. It feels light, flowing, and nourishing. It makes your own body want to relax and open in response. It feels safe. Contractive energy feels like fear, deception, jealousy, resentment, and insecurity. It is a closing. It feels tight, dense, heavy, and draining. It makes your own body want to clench, to protect itself, to pull back. It feels like effort. A person telling the truth, speaking from the heart, radiates expansive energy. Their current is aligned with their boat. A person who is hiding something, who is resentful, or who is operating from a place of deep insecurity, radiates contractive energy. Their boat may be smiling and agreeable, but their current is a vortex of tension. To learn this language is to reclaim a birthright. It is to trust the wisdom of your physical vessel over the conditioned chatter of your mind. At first, this will be difficult. The voice in your head, the voice that trusts the lens of the past, will argue. It will say, "But they said they were happy for me. I should believe them. This feeling of unease must be my own issue." And sometimes it might be, but more often than not, your body is picking up on a truth that your mind is trying to deny. To cultivate soul sight is to give the body's wisdom an equal, if not greater, voice. It is to have the courage to say, "My mind heard the words, but my body felt the lie. I will trust my body." This is how you bypass the mask. The mask is a construction of words and behaviors. It is the boat. But no one can fake their energy current, not for long. The effort is too great. The truth of their inner state, their fear, their love, their insecurity, their pieces constantly being broadcast as an energetic signature. When you tune your instrument, your body, you can read that signature directly. You are no longer fooled by the pleasant facade, and you are no longer threatened by the aggressive one. You feel the current underneath it all. You feel the fear beneath the aggression, the insecurity beneath the arrogance, the emptiness beneath the boastfulness. As you become more attuned to feeling these currents, these unique energetic flows from every person you meet, you will start to notice that they are not random, they are not chaotic. You will see that these thousands of subtle energetic signatures all seem to originate from just a few deep, powerful, and universal wells. They are expressions of a handful of primal forces that drive all human behavior. Feeling the current is the first step. Understanding the source of that current is the next. This is where we turn to the primal motives that govern the human heart. Once you have learned to feel the subtle, powerful currents of energy that flow beneath the surface of every human interaction, you naturally begin to seek their source. What is the great engine that drives these currents? If you trace the thousands of complex, contradictory, and confusing human behaviors back to their origin, you will find that the vast majority spring from a simple, elegant, and deeply primal engine. This engine has three primary functions, three fundamental gears that dictate our actions: the drive to move away from fear, the drive to move toward love, and the drive to establish power. These are the three primary colors of the human soul. Every action, every word, every subtle energetic shift you perceive in another person is simply a unique mixture of these three elemental forces. To understand them is to hold the decoder ring to the human heart. Let us first speak of fear. Fear is the oldest and most dominant driver. It is the bedrock of our survival instinct. It is the cold, sharp, contractive energy that says no, no to pain, no to oblivion, no to annihilation. At its root, all fear is the fear of non-existence, of being erased. This branches out into the great fears that shape our lives: the fear of lack, the fear of rejection, the fear of humiliation, the fear of being powerless, and the fear of meaninglessness. Fear is the great motivator of caution, but it is also the great architect of our internal prisons. The most crucial thing to understand about fear is that it rarely shows its own face. Fear is a master of disguise. It cloaks itself in more socially acceptable, more powerful-looking emotions. Arrogance is almost always fear in a king's costume. It is the desperate attempt to project significance out of a terror of being insignificant. The person who boasts, who name drops, who must always appear superior, is not fueled by confidence. They are fueled by the icy fear that if they stop performing, they will be revealed as nothing. The relentless need to control, to manage every detail, to micromanage others, is not a sign of strength. It is the manifestation of a deep-seated fear of chaos, a terror of the unknown. By controlling their tiny corner of the world, they attempt to keep the overwhelming uncertainty of life at bay. Perfectionism is not the love of excellence. It is the fear of criticism, dressed up in a lab coat. It is the belief that if you can just create something flawless, you can avoid the sting of judgment, the pain of being found wanting. When you feel that tight, cold, anxious energy from someone, regardless of the confident words they speak, you are feeling the current of fear. Look past their mask and ask yourself, what are they so afraid of losing? The second primary color is love. If fear is the force of contraction and separation, love is the force of expansion and union. It is the profound, innate drive to connect, to belong, to be seen, to be accepted, to merge with something greater than the small, isolated self. It is the energy that says, yes, yes to connection, yes to vulnerability, yes to life. In its purest form, this drive manifests as compassion, kindness, generosity, and the courage to be open-hearted in a world that often encourages us to be closed. The energy of pure love is unmistakably warm, radiant, and expansive. It feels like coming home. It is the energy you feel from a true friend, a loving parent, or a benevolent mentor. It nourishes and heals. However, like fear, this primal drive has a shadow side, born from its absence. The desperate need for love, the hunger for it, can be as powerful a motivator as fear itself. This is the root of people-pleasing. The person who cannot say no, who sacrifices their own needs to gain the approval of others, is not simply nice. They are driven by a variation of fear, the fear that if they are not endlessly agreeable, they will lose connection, they will be unloved. Their drive for love has been hijacked by their fear of its absence. The constant need for validation, for compliments, for external reassurance, is the cry of a heart that has not learned to source love from within. When you encounter this, you are not seeing vanity. You are seeing a profound hunger for connection. The energetic signature is often a mixture, a reaching out, expansive quality, but tinged with the frantic, contractive anxiety of fear. The third primary motive is power. This is perhaps the most misunderstood of the three. We often associate power with domination and tyranny, but in its pure form, power is simply the drive for agency. It is the innate human need to have an effect on our environment, to be a cause rather than just an effect. It is the desire to express our will, to shape our lives, to grow, to master skills, and to realize our potential. It is the force behind ambition, discipline, leadership, and creativity. A healthy drive for power is the energy that builds cities, creates art, and pushes humanity forward. Its energy is not aggressive. It is centered, focused, grounded, and potent. It feels like a calm, immovable mountain or a deep, steady river. However, when the drive for power is mixed with fear specifically, the fear of being powerless, it becomes corrupted. It morphs from a desire to control oneself into a desire to control others. This is the source of domination, manipulation, and the obsessive need to be right. The person who must win every argument, who belittles others to elevate themselves, who sees every interaction as a zero-sum game of winners and losers, is operating from this shadow aspect of power. They are desperately trying to prove their agency because they are terrified of their own impotence. Their forceful, piercing energy is not the calm potency of true power, but the brittle, aggressive shell built around a core of fear. These three motives are rarely isolated. Human behavior is a complex tapestry woven from these three threads. Think of a driven entrepreneur. Their quest is a blend of power, the desire to build an empire, to create, mixed with fear, the terror of failure and returning to poverty, and often a hidden drive for love, to earn the respect and admiration of their family or society. A helicopter parent is driven by love for their child, but it is a love completely intertwined with a deep fear for the child's safety and a shadow power need to control their life's outcome. When you observe someone, do not look for a single motive, look for the recipe. Ask yourself, what is the dominant color in this person's actions right now? Is it primarily fear, with a touch of a need for love? Is it a healthy expression of power, or is it power corrupted by fear? By shifting your perception from judging the action to diagnosing the motive, you liberate yourself. The behavior of others becomes less personal, less of an affront. You are no longer interacting with a difficult person, but with a being who is in the grip of a powerful, primal fear. You are no longer dealing with an arrogant fool, but with a soul terrified of its own insignificance. This does not mean you must excuse harmful behavior, but it allows you to respond from a place of clarity and wisdom, rather than from a place of blind reaction. You are now equipped with a map to the internal territory of others. You can feel the energetic current, and you can understand the primal source that feeds it. With this map, you are ready to identify the most revealing moments in any human interaction. The moments when the map does not match the territory, when the boat of words points in one direction, while the deep current of motive flows in another. This is the sacred and telling language of incongruence, the space where all hidden truths are patiently waiting to be seen. You have now learned to feel the deep current of energy. You have been given a map to its primal sources in fear, love, and power. We now arrive at the place where these two streams of perception merge, at the very heart of soul sight. We come to the most revealing moments in all of human interaction, the moments of fracture, the moments of dissonance. We come to the subtle, powerful, and unfailingly honest language of incongruence. This is the language the universe uses to tell the truth when words are being used to conceal it. The greatest deceptions are not found in the lie itself, but in the gap between the lie and the truth that is being broadcast simultaneously through another channel. Imagine a person standing before you on a beautiful, clear day, insisting that it is raining. They may speak with conviction, they may offer you logical reasons, but their very presence contradicts their words. They are dry, the ground is dry, the sky is blue. Their statement is incongruent with reality, and you dismiss it without a second thought. This is the essence of perceiving incongruence. It is the art of noticing when someone tells you it is sunny, while they are wearing a raincoat, carrying an umbrella, and shivering. The raincoat is their tense body language. The umbrella is their guarded, contractive energy. The shivering is the subtle tremor in their voice. Their words say one thing, but their entire being proclaims another. The wise person does not argue with the words. They simply notice the raincoat and understand. The primary and most potent form of incongruence is the clash between words and energy. This is the boat pointing east while the current rips westward. A person might accept your invitation with a smile and an enthusiastic, "Yes, I'd love to." But the energy you feel from them is heavy, reluctant, and draining. Your mind registers the yes, but your body registers the no. The incongruence is a signal of an internal conflict. Perhaps they felt obligated to say yes out of a people-pleasing motive, a need for your love and approval. Or perhaps they said yes out of fear of offending you. The word yes was for you, but the heavy energy was their soul's truth, a quiet rebellion against their own inability to set a boundary. To the untrained observer, this is confusing. To the one who perceives energy, this is a moment of perfect clarity. You have just witnessed their inner struggle. Consider the apology. Someone says, "I am so sorry," but their energy is defensive, tight, and self-righteous. Their words perform the ritual of apology, but their energy refuses to be vulnerable. Their mouth says sorry, but their soul says, "I was justified." This incongruence reveals that the apology is not a genuine act of remorse, but a strategic maneuver, perhaps to end the conflict or to manage your perception of them. The truth is not in the carefully chosen words, but in the unyielding energy. Conversely, someone may be too proud or wounded to utter the words, "I'm sorry," but their energy is soft, regretful, and open. In this, you feel a more sincere apology than any empty phrase could offer. Always, always trust the energy. It is the language that cannot be faked. This energetic truth echoes in the physical body. While a checklist of body language is a crude tool, a holistic sense of a person's physical state is profoundly revealing. Observe the person who proclaims their unshakable confidence, but whose body is physically making itself smaller, shoulders hunched, arms held tightly to their sides. Their words claim power, but their body is speaking the language of fear, of making oneself a smaller target. Notice the forced smile that never reaches the eyes. The mouth performs happiness, but the eyes, the windows to the soul, remain flat, tired, or sad. This is the raincoat. Notice the person who agrees with you enthusiastically, nodding their head while their foot is nervously tapping, pointed towards the door. Their mouth says, "I want to be here," but their body is preparing to flee. The body is a vessel of the subconscious mind, and it will leak the truths the conscious mind tries to suppress. Listen, also, to the music of the voice. The tone, pitch, and cadence carry more truth than the content of the words. A person might recount a supposedly happy memory, but their voice is flat and monotone, devoid of the warm vibration of genuine joy. The story is a performance. The lifeless tone is the reality. Someone might try to make a powerful declarative statement, but their voice cracks on the final word, betraying the insecurity beneath the assertion. Think of the phrase, "It's no big deal," spoken with a sharp, clipped tone. The words dismiss, but the aggressive vocal energy reveals that it is, in fact, a very big deal. The voice is pure vibration, and that vibration is a direct readout of a person's inner emotional and energetic state. When the music of the voice does not match the lyrics of the words, believe the music. The final and most undeniable arbiter of truth is the incongruence between words and actions over time. This is the grand scale of soul sight. A person can say, "I love you" every day, but if their actions are consistently selfish, dismissive, or cruel, the incongruence is absolute. The words are a smokescreen, the actions are the fire. A friend can promise, "I'll always have your back," but if they are consistently absent in times of need, their promises are worthless currency. A leader can speak of integrity and transparency, but if their dealings are secretive and their behavior is duplicitous, their words are nothing more than noise. Actions are the final signature of a person's character and priorities. While energy, body, and tone reveal the truth of a moment, actions reveal the truth of a person's soul over the course of their journey. Pay less attention to what people proclaim and more attention to what they consistently do. Their patterns of action are their autobiography. It is crucial to understand that incongruence is not always a sign of malicious intent. More often, it is the sign of a person at war with themselves. They say one thing because they believe they should feel that way, or they desperately want to feel that way. A person might say, "I'm so happy for your success," while their energy broadcasts envy. They are not necessarily trying to deceive you. They are trying to deceive themselves. They are battling their own shadow, their own feelings of lack driven by fear. When you perceive this incongruence, you are not just detecting a lie, you are witnessing their inner battle. This perspective shifts you from a position of suspicion to one of profound compassion. You see their struggle to align their inner world with their outer presentation. Perceiving this subtle language requires the stillness of the silent observer. A turbulent mind cannot see the subtle ripples of untruth on the surface of a conversation. A mind lost in its own noise cannot hear the sour note in another's voice. But from a place of inner quiet, you are not distracted by the seduction of words. You perceive all channels at once. You hear the words, you feel the energy, you see the posture, you sense the tone. You take in the whole communication, and you notice, without effort, where the fractures lie. This is your infallible guide to the truth. When you consistently see these fractures, these gaps between the presented self and the felt self, you realize you are rarely dealing with a person directly. You are dealing with their ambassador, their carefully constructed representative. You are dealing with a mask, and to deepen your sight, you must now turn your gaze directly upon these masks, not to tear them from their faces, but to understand, with compassion, why they are worn in the first place. The language of incongruence, that subtle fracture between word and energy, is the trail of footprints that leads you directly to the most ubiquitous and profound feature of the human landscape, the mask. To move beyond the words is to arrive at the performance. We enter this world as utterly authentic beings, our inner state and outer expression in perfect, seamless unity. A baby feels hunger, and it cries. It feels joy, and it giggles. There is no filter, no strategy, no performance. But life, in its complexity and its pain, quickly teaches us to conceal, to curate, and to present a version of ourselves that is more likely to survive. We learn, through the intricate dance of reward and punishment, which parts of our authentic self will be met with love and applause, and which will be met with rejection and ridicule. And so, the great performance begins. We are all actors on the stage of life, and to see with clarity and compassion, we must learn to distinguish the actor from the role they are playing. This is not a cynical view, it is a compassionate one. The mask is not, in its origin, a lie. It is a shield. It is a survival tool forged in the fires of necessity. For a child whose vulnerability was met with anger, the mask of strength was not a choice. It was a brilliant, life-saving invention. For a child whose sadness made their parents uncomfortable, the mask of joy was a passport to acceptance. We create these personas, these characters, to navigate the complex social world and to protect the soft, tender, true self that lies beneath. The tragedy is not that we create the mask, but that we forget we are wearing it. We become so accustomed to the role that we mistake it for our identity. The applause of the audience, the approval of our family, friends, and society becomes so intoxicating that we fear ever leaving the stage. But backstage, in the quiet moments, the actor is exhausted. The actor feels profoundly alone, for they know that the applause is not for them, but for the character they so convincingly portray. Your journey into soul sight is the journey of learning to see, with gentle and knowing eyes, the weary actor behind the mask. Let us walk through a gallery of these common masks, these heroic and tragic characters played out on the world's stage. First, we meet one of the most common and celebrated, the mask of strength, the stoic. The outward performance is one of unshakable competence and resilience. This is the person who says, "I'm fine," even when their world is crumbling. They are the pillar for everyone else, the one who handles everything, who never asks for help, who never complains. Their script is filled with lines like, "It is what it is," and "We just have to push through." They are praised for their fortitude, for their reliability. But look closer, feel the energy beneath the performance. It is not the calm, flowing energy of genuine power. It is brittle, rigid, and tight. There is an immense, exhausting effort required to maintain this facade. Backstage, the actor behind the mask of strength is terrified. Their deepest fear is vulnerability. They believe, on a primal level, that to need help is to be a burden, that to show weakness is to invite rejection or attack. This belief was likely forged in a past where their needs were dismissed or punished. And so, they equate self-worth with self-sufficiency. To see this person clearly is not to admire their strength, but to feel the immense weight they are carrying, and to recognize the profound loneliness of the actor who has convinced the world they need no one. Next, we encounter the mask of joy, the entertainer. This is the life of the party. The person who is always quick with a joke, a laugh, a story. Their performance is dazzling. They deflect any hint of seriousness with humor, any moment of emotional depth with a playful distraction. They are experts at keeping the mood light. People love being around them because they are fun. They are an escape from the heaviness of life. Their script is one of relentless positivity. But again, let us feel the energy beneath the laughter. It is often frantic, almost desperate. There is a compulsive quality to their performance, a need to constantly keep the plates of merriment spinning. Why? Because the actor backstage is running from a great sadness. They are terrified of silence, terrified of what might surface if the laughter stops. The emptiness or the grief they carry inside feels so vast, so overwhelming, that their entire life has become an elaborate strategy to outrun it. The constant performance is not an expression of joy, it is a defense against pain. To see this person with soul sight is to hear the quiet sob beneath the roaring laughter, to feel the exhaustion of the clown after the circus has left town. It is to recognize that the brightest lights can sometimes be used to conceal the deepest darkness. Then we see a more complex and often misunderstood character, the mask of the victim. The performance here is one of helplessness and perpetual misfortune. Life is always happening to them. The world is unfair. People are unkind, and circumstances are always conspiring against them. Their script is a litany of complaints, injustices, and sighs. This performance can be powerful, as it often elicits sympathy, help, and attention from others. It absolves the actor of responsibility. But what is the hidden motive? What is the actor backstage afraid of? The actor behind the mask of the victim is terrified of failure and responsibility. To take ownership of one's life is to risk failing on one's own terms, a prospect that feels utterly unbearable. It is easier and safer to believe that one has no power, because if you have no power, you cannot be blamed for the outcome of your life. The performance of helplessness is a shield against the perceived agony of personal failure. The energetic signature is often draining and heavy, a psychic gravity that pulls others into its orbit of complaint. To see this actor clearly is not to judge their weakness, but to perceive the profound fear of inadequacy that drives the entire performance. You see a person who has forfeited their own power in exchange for the perceived safety of a supporting role in their own life story. Finally, let us observe the mask of the intellect, the cynic. This actor's performance is one of superior knowledge, logic, and detached analysis. They stand above the messy fray of human emotion, dissecting it with sharp wit and cynical commentary. Their script is filled with rational explanations, intellectual critiques, and a general disdain for sentimentality or vulnerability. They use their intelligence as a weapon and a shield. It is an impressive performance, often keeping others at a distance, intimidated by their sharp mind. But the fortress of logic they have built serves one primary purpose: to protect them from the overwhelming world of feeling. The actor backstage is deeply afraid of their own emotions. They fear the chaos of love, the pain of grief, the messiness of intimacy. Emotions are unpredictable and cannot be controlled by logic, so they are denigrated and dismissed. Cynicism is the intellectual's version of the Stoic's emotional repression. The energy is often cool, sharp, and cutting, designed to keep you out. To see this person clearly is to feel the arid loneliness of their fortress, to sense the fragile, feeling heart that the intellect was conscripted to protect. You see a person trapped in the attic of their own mind, afraid to descend into the living rooms of the heart. Recognizing these masks in others is only possible when you have begun to recognize them in yourself. But the goal of this site is not to go around unmasking people. To forcefully tear a mask from someone's face is an act of violence. It exposes a part of them they are not ready to show, a wound they are not ready to face. It will only cause them to build a thicker, stronger mask in its place. The true art of soul sight is to learn to speak past the mask to the actor behind it. It is to create a space so safe, so non-judgmental, that the actor feels they can voluntarily set the mask aside, even for a moment. How is this done? Through your own authenticity. When you can show your own vulnerability, you give others permission to show theirs. When you respond not to their performance, but to the energy you feel beneath it, you are addressing the real person. With the person wearing the mask of strength, you do not say, "You are not as strong as you look." Instead, you might say, with warmth and sincerity, "You carry so much for everyone. I hope you know it's okay to put it down sometimes. I am here if you ever want to share the weight." This acknowledges their performance. You carry so much, but speaks directly to the tired actor. It's okay to put it down. With the mask of joy, you do not challenge their happiness. You laugh with them, but in a quiet moment you might say, "Your laughter brings so much light, but I want you to know that this space is safe for your quiet moments, too." You offer a sanctuary for the actor, a place where they don't have to perform. It is a subtle but profound shift. You are signaling that you see them, the real them, beyond the role, and that you are not afraid or repulsed by what you see. You are offering the one thing the actor craves more than applause: genuine, unconditional acceptance. To see beyond the mask is to understand the immense cost of wearing it. It is the exhaustion of the performance, the deep loneliness of being celebrated for someone you are not, and the tragic loss of authentic connection with others. For masks cannot truly connect. They can only interact, negotiate, and perform with other masks. True intimacy, true connection, requires that a piece of the mask be set aside, that a piece of the true, vulnerable self be revealed. This is the human drama. The universal struggle between the safety of the mask and the deep soul-level longing for authentic connection. When you look at another person, see their performance, but feel for the actor. Know that their mask, whatever its form, was born from a need to protect something precious. And why is this protection so necessary? Why are the masks worn with such fierce, often desperate conviction? Because they are not just hiding a person, they are shielding a wound. Behind every mask, there is a story of pain, there is a scar, and to truly understand the depths of the human heart, we must now turn our gentle, compassionate gaze upon these scars, not as flaws or points of weakness, but as the sacred markings of a soul that has endured. If the mask is the shield, then the scar is what lies beneath it. The mask is the fortress wall, the formidable defense erected for the world to see. The scar is the sacred, wounded ground it was built to protect. We spend so much of our lives judging the walls of others, critiquing their defenses, and taking offense at their impenetrability. But to look upon another human being with true soul sight is to move beyond this surface-level analysis. It is to learn to see, with profound reverence, the scars they bear. For what we call a flaw or a weakness in another is almost never a failure of character. It is the scar tissue that proves they have fought a battle and survived. Walk through an ancient forest. You will see trees that have grown tall, straight, and symmetrical. They are beautiful, but their story is one of shelter. They have likely been protected from the harshest elements. But then you see it, a gnarled, twisted, ancient oak. Its trunk is thick and scarred, its branches broken and regrown in strange, defiant angles. It is not perfectly symmetrical. By a simple standard, it is flawed. But in its imperfections, it tells a story of immense power. This tree has endured a century of storms. It has faced the lightning, the droughts, the blizzards, and the fires, and it still stands. Its twists are the memory of its fight against the wind. Its scars are the evidence of its wounds closing over. Its resilience is etched into its very form. This tree is not weak. This tree is a survivor. Its scars are not its shame. They are the map of its strength. It is the same with people. The parts of them that we are so quick to label as weaknesses are so often the maps of their survival. Let us look at some of these labels we apply so carelessly and learn to see the sacred scar beneath. Consider the person you call overly sensitive, the one who takes things too personally. Their performance is one of constant reactivity. A gentle critique feels like a brutal attack. A shift in your tone is interpreted as a sign of impending rejection. The world seems to be a minefield of potential hurts, and they are the designated victim. It is easy to grow impatient, to dismiss them as fragile or dramatic. But look deeper, with the eyes of compassion. What is the wound that could create such a scar? Often, it is a childhood of emotional invalidation, a history where their genuine feelings were dismissed, ridiculed, or punished. They learned on a cellular level that their inner world was not a safe place, and that the outer world was a source of constant, unpredictable emotional threat. The resulting scar is not oversensitivity, it is a state of hypervigilance. Their nervous system is perpetually scanning for danger, like a soldier who has returned from war because it never learned what it feels like to be truly safe. This is not a weakness. It is a highly attuned survival mechanism that was once absolutely necessary. To see them clearly is to stop judging the reaction and start honoring the resilience of a nervous system that has learned to navigate a hostile world. Think of the person you label as indecisive, the one who cannot commit, who agonizes over the smallest choices, who lives in a state of perpetual uncertainty. You see a lack of conviction, a failure of will. But what is the story of the scar? Perhaps it is a story of being severely punished for making the wrong choice. A childhood with an authoritarian parent, where any decision that did not align with the parent's will was met with anger, shame, or the withdrawal of love. The child learns a devastating equation: choice equals risk. Wrong choice equals unbearable pain. And so, the scar forms. The scar is a paralysis of the will. It is a subconscious strategy that reasons, if I never truly decide, I can never be truly wrong. If I never commit, I can never be punished for my commitment. This is not a character flaw. It is a brilliant, if tragic, protective strategy born of trauma. When you feel impatience rising at their inability to choose, pause. See the frightened child within them, terrified of making another mistake. See their indecision not as weakness, but as the ghost of a past judgment they are still trying to avoid. Consider the person you call controlling or a micromanager. They need to have a say in every detail. They cannot delegate. They suffocate others with their need for oversight. You see a thirst for power, an arrogant belief that only they know the right way. But what if you saw it as a scar? What is the wound? Frequently, it is a wound of chaos, a childhood that was unpredictable, unstable, and unsafe. With an alcoholic parent, or in a household filled with turmoil, the world felt like a terrifying vortex of randomness. There were no rules, no consistency, no safety. The scar that forms from this is a desperate, white-knuckled attempt to control the external environment. By managing every tiny detail of their adult life, their work, their home, their relationships, they are trying to create the order and safety they were never given. Their control is not about dominating you, it is about keeping their own inner chaos from spilling over. It is a desperate attempt to build a dam against the flood of their own past. To see this is to replace your resentment with a sense of profound empathy for the child who is still trying to make their world feel safe. And what of the one you call emotionally distant or cold? The person who seems to be made of stone, who does not react to your joy or your sorrow, who offers logic when you need a hug. You see a lack of care, a cold heart. But this is one of the deepest scars of all. The wound is often a catastrophic loss or a profound betrayal. A heart that was once open was so utterly shattered that the pain of feeling became unsurvivable. The scar that forms is a kind of emotional cauterization. It is a numbing of the heart, a conscious or unconscious decision to shut down the capacity to feel deeply because the memory of that past agony is too great. They did not lose their feelings. They have buried them alive in a tomb of logic and detachment to ensure they can never be so wounded again. Their distance is not a rejection of you, it is a protection for them. Their wall of ice is preserving the memory of a fire that almost consumed them. When you begin to see people as a landscape of these sacred scars, your perception of energy sharpens. You will notice that a scar has an energetic signature. It is a tender point in a person's field. When a topic of conversation brushes up against a scar, you will feel a sudden change in the current. You will feel a dip in energy, a sudden contraction, a spike of defensiveness, or a wall of coldness going up. It is the energetic equivalent of touching a physical bruise. The person may not even be conscious of their reaction, but their energy field will recoil to protect the wounded place. Recognizing this energetic flinch allows you to navigate conversations with grace. You learn what subjects carry a heavy weight for others, not so you can avoid them, but so you can approach them with the gentleness and reverence they require. You cannot heal another's scars. That is not your work. The healing of a wound is a sacred and personal journey that belongs to the one who bears it. But what you can do with your newfound sight is to stop pouring salt on them. By seeing the scar for what it is, a mark of survival, a testament to resilience, you change the entire dynamic of the interaction. You cease to be a judge and you become a safe harbor. Your non-judgmental witnessing, your compassionate gaze, becomes the warm sunlight that allows the gnarled tree to finally feel safe enough to perhaps sprout a new, green leaf from its scarred bark. You are providing the conditions for their own healing to begin. This is the alchemy of soul sight. It transmutes flaws into strengths, weaknesses into stories of resilience, and judgment into compassion. You no longer see a collection of frustrating traits. You see a human being who has artfully and courageously navigated the battlefield of their life. And when you can see a person in this way, as a landscape of sacred scars, you begin to hear a universal, unspoken cry that emanates from these wounded places. It is a quiet, constant plea. It is the cry to be seen fully, to be acknowledged without judgment, to be accepted, scars and all. This is the profound and deeply human hunger for validation. From the tender landscape of our scars, from the hidden, aching places behind our masks, there emanates a quiet but persistent hum. It is a broadcast on a frequency that underlies almost all human endeavor. It is the sound of a universal longing, a need so fundamental that it can be mistaken for our very character. It is the cry to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be affirmed by a gaze outside of our own. It is the deep, primal, and often insatiable hunger for validation. To understand this hunger is to understand the motivation behind great works of art and desperate acts of self-destruction, behind quiet acts of kindness and loud displays of arrogance. It is the engine that runs in the background of the human world. Imagine that every human soul is like a sunflower. We are heliotropic beings designed to turn toward the light. In the context of our inner world, that light is recognition. It is the glance, the word, the gesture from another that says, "I see you, you exist, you matter." This is not a weakness or a flaw. It is a feature of our interconnected design. As infants, this external gaze is literally the source of our survival and our sense of self. We learn who we are by seeing ourselves reflected in the eyes of our caregivers. But as we grow, many of us never learn to generate our own light. We remain sunflowers, perpetually turning our heads, chasing the fleeting sunlight of another's approval across the sky. The majority of what we call ego or personality is simply the unique strategy each sunflower has developed to get its daily requirement of light. Observe the one you know as the people pleaser. Their strategy is one of perfect, adaptive reflection. They are a chameleon, becoming whatever they perceive the other person wants them to be. They seek validation by erasing their own needs, their own opinions, their own desires, in the hopes that their agreeableness will be rewarded with the warm light of acceptance. Their internal monologue is a constant calculation. What do they want to hear? How can I be useful? How can I avoid conflict? The hunger for validation in them is so strong that it has subsumed their authentic self. They believe, on a subconscious level, that their true, unedited self is not worthy of light, and so they offer up a curated, compliant proxy instead. Their deepest terror is that if they were to stop pleasing, the light of approval would be withdrawn, and they would be cast into the darkness of irrelevance, the ultimate invalidation. Then there is the overachiever, the perfectionist. Their strategy is to earn the light through merit. They chase validation through relentless accomplishment. Their inner script says, if I build a great company, if I write a great book, if I get the perfect body, if my children are flawless, then I will be undeniable. Then the world will have no choice but to grant me the light of respect and admiration. Their achievements are not joyful expressions of their own potential. They are offerings, sacrifices laid at the altar of public opinion. They are running on a treadmill, believing that the finish line of enough exists, but it does not. Each achievement provides a momentary hit of validation, a brief flash of light which quickly fades, leaving them just as hungry as before, now needing an even greater accomplishment to achieve the same fleeting feeling. Their hunger is for the validation of being seen as worthy, important, and successful. Consider the performer, the one who lives their life as an open book of high drama. Their strategy is to capture the light through sheer force of narrative. Their life is a series of soaring peaks and devastating valleys, all broadcast for an audience. They seek validation through attention. For them, even negative attention is better than no attention at all. To be seen as controversial or troubled is still to be seen. To be ignored is a form of psychic death. They are the stars of their own ongoing reality show, and social media has become their perfect stage. Every post, every story, every emotional update is a bid for the gaze of others, a request for the light of likes, comments, and shares. Their hunger is not for respect or agreeableness, but for sheer focus. They need to be at the center of the story because their sense of self is tethered to the awareness of the audience. Even the rebel, the contrarian, is engaged in this same fundamental pursuit. Their strategy appears to be the opposite, but it is not. They seek validation by rejecting the mainstream, by defining themselves in opposition to the crowd. Their validation comes from being seen as different, more intelligent, more authentic, or more courageous than the sheep they hold in contempt. But notice the dependency. Their entire identity is still reliant on the thing they are rejecting. They need the crowd in order to stand apart from it. Their sense of self is still a reflection, just a negative one. They are turning toward the shadow of the sun, but they are still oriented by the sun. Their hunger is to be validated as special, as an exception, but it is a hunger for validation all the same. The great tragedy of this hunger is that external validation provides only empty calories. It is like trying to nourish yourself with candy. It gives a momentary rush of pleasure, a spike of energy, but it has no substance. It cannot build a healthy, resilient sense of self. The high of a compliment, a promotion, 1,000 likes, fades with astonishing speed, leaving the soul just as malnourished as before, and now craving an even bigger dose. This is why you see people who have achieved everything the world defines as success, fame, wealth, power, and yet they are riddled with insecurity, anxiety, and emptiness. They have feasted at the banquet of external approval and are starving to death on the inside. They are sunflowers who have chased the sun across the entire sky, only to find themselves in darkness when the sun inevitably sets. The only way to satiate this hunger is to turn the gaze inward. It is the journey from external validation to internal validation. This is the process of becoming your own sun. It is the cultivation of a steady, unwavering, inner source of light that is not dependent on the weather of other people's opinions. This is the ultimate function of the silent observer. That quiet, aware presence within you is a source of pure, non-judgmental attention. To learn to abide in that awareness is to learn to see yourself, to learn to accept what the observer sees: your strengths, your masks, your scars, to learn to approve of yourself. This is self-love in its most potent form. It is the ability to say to yourself, "I see you, you exist, you matter," and to feel it in your bones as the deepest truth, regardless of whether anyone else says it or not. When you understand this profound universal hunger, your perception of the world transforms. You no longer see vanity, arrogance, or neediness in people. You see fellow sunflowers engaged in their own desperate and often clumsy dance for light. You see the deep, unmet need behind the annoying behavior. The person bragging about their accomplishments is not an egomaniac. They are asking, "Please, tell me I'm worthy." The person posting their 10th selfie of the day is not narcissistic. They are asking, "Please, tell me I'm beautiful, tell me I'm here." The person who needs to be right in every argument is not a bully. They are asking, "Please, tell me my perspective matters." This sight does not make you a doormat. It does not mean you must provide the validation they seek, but it replaces your irritation with a wave of deep, knowing compassion. And when you can look upon another and see their hunger for validation with this compassionate understanding, their behavior ceases to be a personal affront. It becomes a source of profound information. You realize that this person, in their desperate search for light, is showing you something. They are holding up a mirror to a part of yourself that also craves the light, or they are acting as a teacher for a lesson in compassion or boundaries that your soul needs to learn. The world is no longer a stage of competing, hungry egos. It transforms into a grand and sacred classroom where every person you meet has something to reflect and something to teach. When you learn to see the universal hunger for validation in others, not with irritation, but with a deep and knowing compassion, a fundamental shift occurs in your perception. The world ceases to be a random collection of separate, competing egos. The people who fill your life are no longer just friends, family, colleagues, or strangers. The entire paradigm of relationship transforms. You begin to realize that life is not happening to you, but that it is happening for you. The universe becomes an intelligent, interactive, and profoundly personal classroom, and every single person you encounter is a part of the curriculum, custom designed for the evolution of your soul. In this grand classroom, every being you meet will play one of two sacred roles. They will be your mirror, or they will be your teacher. Let us first explore the mirror principle. This is the understanding that the world, and especially the people in it, are a direct reflection of your own inner state. They reflect back to you the parts of yourself that you cannot or will not see. This works in both positive and negative ways. Look to the people you deeply admire. The qualities that you are drawn to in them, their courage, their creativity, their unwavering kindness, They're disciplineer, not qualities that are foreign to you. They are a reflection of the very same potential that lies dormant within your own soul. The light you see in them is a mirror showing you the brilliance you have yet to own. Their existence is a powerful affirmation from the universe, reminding you of what you are capable of becoming. Your admiration is your soul's recognition of its own future possibility. More crucial, however, and far more challenging, is the negative mirror. The people who trigger you the most, the ones who irritate, anger, and unsettle you, are your most precious and valuable mirrors. They are not the cause of your disturbance. They are simply the ones who reveal the disturbance that is already there, deep within you. The strong emotional reaction, the trigger, is a signal. It is an alarm bell, telling you that an unhealed, unacknowledged part of yourself has just been activated. A person's behavior has brushed up against one of your scars, or it has reflected back to you a part of your own shadow that you have fiercely disowned. Consider the person whose arrogance infuriates you. The immediate reaction is to judge them, to label them as egotistical. But the mirror principle invites you to pause and turn the gaze inward. What is their arrogance showing you about yourself? Perhaps it reflects your own repressed ambition. Perhaps you were taught that it was wrong to be proud of your accomplishments, and so you see their overt pride, and it triggers the part of you that has been kept small. Or perhaps the mirror is showing you a deep-seated fear of being invisible. Their loud self-importance triggers your own wound of not being seen or heard. The anger you feel toward them is the displaced anger of your own unhealed part. The practice is not to condone their arrogance, but to use your reaction as a diagnostic tool. The question is never, what is wrong with them? The question is always, what is this showing me about me? Think of the person you judge as lazy or undisciplined, whose behavior fills you with frustration. Before you cast your judgment, look into the mirror they are holding up. Is it possible that what you see is a reflection of your own harsh inner critic, the relentless voice that tells you that your worth is tied to your productivity? Perhaps their ability to rest, even if it borders on sloth, triggers your own inability to be still, your own deep-seated belief that you must always be doing, always be striving to be worthy. Your frustration with them is actually your own inner slave driver's frustration, projected outward. Once you see this, the emotional charge dissolves. You are no longer their judge. You are simply a student of your own inner workings. This is the gift of the negative mirror. It brings your shadows into the light, not to shame you, but to heal you. The second great role a person can play is that of the teacher. While a mirror reflects what is already inside you, a teacher presents a lesson that you need to learn, a quality or skill your soul is ready to develop. These lessons often come in the form of persistent, challenging situations. Life will send you the same teacher in different masks over and over again until you finally learn the curriculum. Many of us have encountered the teacher of boundaries. This is the person who consistently takes, who encroaches on your time and energy, who takes advantage of your kindness. Your initial thought may be that they are a mirror of your own selfishness, but often this is not the case. They are a teacher, and the lesson is clear. You must learn to say no. You must learn to build a healthy fence around your own garden. You must learn that protecting your own energy is not selfish, but necessary. Life will keep sending you this tchera-demanding boss, a needy friend, a manipulative family member, until you stand up and say, with calm, loving firmness, this far and no further. When you finally learn the lesson, the teacher, having fulfilled their purpose, will often fade from your life. Then there is the teacher of forgiveness. This is the person who has wronged you, who has caused you deep pain. They hold up a curriculum of resentment, bitterness, and grief. To hold on to these feelings is to drink poison and expect the other person to die. The teacher's role in this case is to provide you with the sacred opportunity to learn the liberating art of forgiveness. This is not about condoning their actions or reconciling with them. It is about the deeply personal act of unclenching your own soul, of releasing the energetic bond to the pain, of setting yourself free. The teacher provides the wound that becomes the portal to your own grace. A simple way to distinguish between the two is to observe your reaction. If a person's behavior incites a strong, disproportionate emotional reaction that feels old, deep, and intensely personal, you are likely looking into a mirror. It has triggered something in you. If the situation feels more like an external, persistent obstacle course that is challenging you to develop a new strength, a new virtue like patience, courage, or compassion, you are likely in the presence of a teacher. Often, a person can be both, reflecting an old wound while simultaneously teaching you the very skill you need to heal it. When you fully embrace this perspective, the world is no longer filled with enemies, antagonists, or annoying people. It is filled with messengers. There are no random encounters. Every person who crosses your path has a reason for being there. They are a piece of your puzzle, a guidepost on your journey. The person who cuts you off in traffic is a 1-second teacher of patience. The friend who betrays you is a master-level teacher of forgiveness and self-reliance. The boss who fails to see your value is a mirror, reflecting back to you your own hunger for validation and teaching you to source it from within. This perspective shifts you from a state of passive victimhood to one of active, empowered studentship. The world becomes your ally, a living, breathing intelligence that is constantly conspiring for your awakening. But to see what the mirror is truly reflecting, and to hear the quiet instruction of the teacher, you must first create the proper learning environment. You must stop filling the space with your own noise, your own reactions, your own story. You must learn the profound and sacred art of creating a canvas of silence, upon which the truth of every encounter can finally be painted. To see the world as a classroom of mirrors and teachers is to undertake a profound reorientation of the soul. But to be an effective student in this grand school of life requires a discipline we have almost completely forgotten. It requires that we learn to be quiet. Our conversations, our interactions, are often not conversations at all. They are competitive monologues. We are not listening, we are reloading. We are waiting for the other person to take a breath so that we can insert our own story, our own opinion, our own rebuttal. The space between us becomes a battlefield of noise, a chaotic mess where two people desperately try to be heard and neither one truly listens. To perceive the truth that lies just beneath this noise, you must learn to do the opposite. You must learn to offer the rarest and most illuminating of gifts, a deep, conscious, and receptive silence. This silence is not an emptiness, it is a canvas. Imagine you are a master artist, and your goal is to see the true portrait of the person before you. If you frantically sketch your own ideas, your own assumptions, your own judgments all over the canvas, you will never see their true form. You will only see the mess of your own creation. But if you present them with a vast, clean, empty canvas, and you wait with patient, focused attention, they will be compelled to pick up the brush themselves. They will, unconsciously, begin to paint a perfect portrait of their own inner world. This is the power of silence. It creates a space, a vacuum, that the other person's psyche rushes to fill, and it will fill it with what is most active and most true within them: their anxieties, their hidden intentions, their unspoken desires, their deepest truths. Most people are terrified of silence. True silence in a conversation is a profound and unsettling mirror. When the external noise stops, they are suddenly left alone with their own inner noise, the restless chatter of their mind, the hum of their anxiety, the weight of their own incongruence. This discomfort is the very mechanism of revelation. To escape the discomfort of looking at themselves in the mirror of silence, they will begin to talk. They will say more than they intended. They will reveal things they had planned to keep hidden. They will try to fill the space you have provided with anything at all, and in their haste to fill it, their masks will slip. They will contradict themselves. They will elaborate on a lie until its architecture crumbles. They are not confessing to you. They are trying to escape themselves. You are simply the quiet, patient host of their revelation. It is essential to understand that not all silence is created equal. The silence we are cultivating is a specific and highly attuned state of being. The silence most people know is the aggressive silence of the silent treatment. This is a wall, not a canvas. It is a punishment, a withdrawal of love and connection. Its energy is cold, hard, and contractive. It is a weapon designed to hurt, and it reveals nothing but the anger of the person wielding it. This is not the silence of soul sight. Then there is the awkward silence, the void. This is a mutual discomfort, a shared social anxiety where both parties feel the lack of connection and scramble to fill it. This too is not our goal. The silence we seek is a receptive silence. It is a canvas. This silence is not passive. It is an active, vibrant, and deeply engaged state. While you are silent, you are not drifting away in your own thoughts. You are completely present with the other person. Your body language is open and relaxed. Your gaze is soft and steady. Your entire being radiates a single, powerful message. I am here. I am listening. There is no rush. The space is yours. This kind of silence is filled with the energy of unconditional presence. It is one of the most profound forms of respect you can offer another human being. It is this feeling of safety, this unspoken permission to be, that invites the truth to the surface. An aggressive silence creates fear. A receptive silence dissolves it. Learning to use this canvas requires practice and subtlety. It is an art, not a blunt instrument. One of the most powerful moments to employ it is immediately after the other person has made a significant statement, especially one that feels rehearsed or emotionally charged. Our instinct is to immediately respond, to agree, to disagree, to analyze. Instead, do nothing. Simply hold the space for 3 or 4 seconds longer than is comfortable. Let their own words hang in the air between you. Let them hear what they just said. More often than not, in that extended pause, they will feel compelled to elaborate. They will amend their statement, soften it, or even contradict it. They will add the footnote that contains the real truth. They essentially debate with themselves on your silent canvas. Another potent application is after you have asked a meaningful question. We often rush this process. We ask a question, and if the answer isn't immediate, we rephrase it, we offer suggestions, we jump in to ease the perceived tension. This is a disservice to the person and to the truth. When you ask a genuine question, grant them the dignity of a silent space in which to find a genuine answer. Let them move beyond their first, pre-packaged, socially acceptable response. The real answer often lies behind a moment of inner reflection, and that reflection can only happen in the silence you provide. Wait, let them find it. The answer that emerges from a thoughtful silence is 1,000 times more valuable than the one produced by conversational pressure. Receptive silence is also your most effective tool when you feel someone is being evasive. They answer your question with a non-answer, a deflection, a vague generality. The instinct is to challenge them, to point out their evasion, which immediately puts them on the defensive and causes them to build their walls higher. The more effective path is to meet their vague answer with calm, receptive silence and a patient, unwavering gaze. This combination non-verbally communicates a powerful message. I heard the words you used, and I am still here, patiently waiting for the answer to the question I asked. The silence becomes a gentle but firm pressure. It is not aggressive. It simply holds the question in the space. Faced with this calm, non-judgmental expectation, It is remarkably difficult for a person to maintain their evasion. They will often sigh, break eye contact for a moment, and then offer a second, more truthful response. To wield this silence is to move through the world with a new sense of quiet power. You realize you do not need to force the truth out of people. You do not need to be a clever interrogator or a relentless debater. You need only become a sanctuary of silence. In the safe space you provide, people will unburden themselves. They will show you who they are, not because you demanded it, but because you offered them a canvas clean enough that they could finally see themselves. But holding this canvas, this sacred space, is only the first part of the discipline. It is a passive strength. The true mastery of this art comes when the other person, uncomfortable with the silence, decides to attack the canvas, to splash it with the paint of their own reactivity, their anger, their fear, their drama. To hold the silence is one thing. To remain internally still while being splattered with the chaos of another's energy requires its dynamic and powerful cousin, the art of non-reaction. If holding the silent canvas is the passive art of perception, the yin of soul sight, then we must now turn to its active counterpart, the yang. What happens when the person before you, agitated by their own reflection in the mirror of your silence, decides to throw their paint not onto the canvas, but directly at you? What happens when their anger, their fear, their manipulation, their criticism ceases to be a general broadcast and becomes a targeted missile aimed directly at your heart? This is the moment of initiation. This is the test. This is where the student of awareness must learn the dynamic art of stillness, the most misunderstood and potent of all spiritual technologies. This is the power of non-reaction. To understand non-reaction, we must first dissect its opposite, our habitual, unconscious, and deeply conditioned state of reactivity. A reaction is not a choice, it is a spasm. It is a flash of lightning that travels along the ancient, well-worn neural pathways of our survival brain. An external event, a critical word from a boss, a dismissive tone from a partner, the sight of an ex-lover with someone new acts as a trigger. This trigger is a key that fits a specific lock within us, the lock of an old wound, a deep-seated scar. The key turns, the lock opens, and the raw, unhealed energy of that past wound floods our system. In that moment, we are no longer our present-day adult self. We are possessed. We become the abandoned child, the shamed teenager, the betrayed partner. Our response is not to the present situation, but to the full accumulated weight of the original pain. This is why our reactions are so often disproportionate, so bafflingly intense. We are not just reacting to a thrown pebble, we are re-experiencing the entire landslide it represents. This reactive cycle is the engine of all human drama. It is a self-perpetuating fire. Imagine someone operating from their own fear throws a log of anger at you. That burning log activates your own wound of not being respected, and you reactively throw back a log of defensiveness. Your defensiveness, in their eyes, confirms their initial anger and proves they were right to be angry. It validates their position, so they throw another, bigger log of anger. You, now feeling even more attacked, retaliate with a log of biting sarcasm. The fire grows. Each reaction becomes the fuel for the next, in a miserable, exhausting feedback loop. We become co-conspirators in the creation of the very chaos that torments us. We think we are fighting the other person, but we are merely feeding their fire with our own and burning ourselves in the process. The power of non-reaction is the conscious, courageous decision to stop throwing logs on the fire. This power is born in the space between stimulus and reaction. For most people, this space is infinitesimally small, a microscopic gap through which the lightning of reactivity flashes. The work of awareness is to widen that gap, to turn a microsecond into a full, conscious moment. This is the practice of the sacred pause. It is the gateway to freedom. The moment you feel the first spark of a trigger-thie heat rising in your chest, the clenching in your jaw, the tightening in your gut, that is your cue. That is the bell of mindfulness calling you to practice. And the practice is threefold. Stop, breathe, observe. First, you stop. You freeze the external action. You do not speak the cutting remark that has already formed on your tongue. You do not type the angry email. You do not make the exasperated gesture. You impose a full stop on the momentum of the habit. You become a statue, just for a second. This single act is a pattern interrupt of immense power. It disconnects the trigger from the habitual physical response. Second, you breathe. You take one single, conscious, deep breath. In through the nose, feeling the cool air travel down into your belly. Out through the mouth, releasing the air slowly. This is not a mystical act, it is a biological one. A conscious breath sends a direct message to your vagus nerve, telling your primal brain that you are not, in fact, being chased by a tiger. It short-circuits the fight-or-flight response. It brings your prefrontal cortex, the seat of reason and choice, back online. In that single breath, you reclaim your mind from the grip of the past. Third, you observe. Having created a sliver of space with the stop and the breath, you turn your powerful awareness inward. You witness the emotion that has been triggered. You feel the anger, the fear, the shame, not as you, but as a powerful wave of energy moving through the vast ocean of your being. You look at it with the detached curiosity of a scientist. Ah, you note silently, this is the feeling of anger. It feels hot in my chest. There is pressure behind my eyes. Or, this is the feeling of being misunderstood. It feels like a tightness in my throat. By naming and observing the energy, you are no longer possessed by it. You are the sky, witnessing the storm cloud. You are the calm, deep ocean, witnessing the turbulent wave on the surface. You have remembered who you are. You are the observer, not the reaction. From this centered place of non-reactive awareness, you hold the true power in any interaction. Society has taught us a lie about power. It has taught us that power is about force, about pushing back, about winning the argument, about having the last word. This is the power of the ego, and it is a brittle and exhausting form of power. True power, spiritual power, is the power of containment. It is the capacity to hold immense amounts of energy, both your own emotional charge and the other person's energetic attack within the vessel of your consciousness without shattering. It is the ability to be the eye of the storm, the person who can remain calm, centered, and present while the hurricane of another's drama rages around them, is the one who dictates the energetic reality of the situation. Their stillness becomes an anchor, a point of stability that the storm cannot move. This non-reaction fundamentally dissolves the other person's drama, because their drama requires your participation. Every drama is a script with pre-assigned roles. They cast you as the villain, or the fool, or the victim. Your reactive response is you agreeing to play the part. When you refuse your cue, when you meet their angry outburst, not with your scripted defensive retort, but with calm, observant silence, the play grinds to a halt. They are left alone on stage, shouting their lines into a void. Their reality, which depended on your opposition to define itself, begins to crumble. They are forced to confront the raw, uncomfortable energy of their own anger without the convenient distraction of your counterattack. In this moment, their fire, deprived of the oxygen of your reactivity, will do one of two things. It will burn itself out, or it will flare up even higher, revealing the true depth of the wound and the fear that lies beneath it. Either way, the truth is revealed, not by your force, but by your stillness. Let us bring this into practice. When faced with a direct insult or criticism, the habitual reaction is to defend your honor, to explain why they are wrong, or to launch a counter-insult. The non-reactive path is to let the words land without penetration. Imagine their words are stones. You are not a wall for them to smash against. You are the open air through which they can pass harmlessly. You receive the words. You observe your own inner flash of pain or anger, and you let it pass. You can then consciously respond from a place of stillness. Perhaps you meet it with the silent canvas. Perhaps you say, calmly, "Thank you for sharing your perspective. I will consider that." You do not accept the insult as truth, but neither do you fight it. You allow it to be what it is, their opinion, their paint, their story. It does not have to become yours. When faced with a guilt trip or emotional manipulation, the reaction is to become defensive and justify your position, or to collapse and give in to the guilt. The non-reactive response is to become an anchor of your own truth. You can acknowledge their feeling without taking responsibility for it. A calm response might be, "I understand that you feel hurt by my decision." You validate their emotion, which is compassionate. Then you add, "And my decision remains the same." You hold your boundary with quiet strength, without anger or apology. You refuse to pick up the log of guilt they have thrown you. When faced with a raw outburst of anger, the primal reaction is to meet fire with fire, or to cower in fear. The path of the spiritual warrior is to become the eye of the storm. You breathe. You stay grounded in your body. You do not absorb their anger. You let the winds of their rage blow around the still center of your being. Your calmness is not weakness. It is a statement of immense power. It says, "Your storm cannot move me. Your chaos cannot touch my peace." More often than not, this profound, unshakable stillness is the most potent de-escalation tool in existence, for it offers the raging soul nothing to fight against. This is the power of the still point in a turning world. To be non-reactive is not to be passive, unfeeling, or weak. It is the ultimate expression of conscious, discerning strength. It is the choice to refuse to participate in chaos. It is the realization that the only way to truly win a foolish game is to refuse to play. By mastering the sacred pause, by choosing to observe rather than to be possessed, you become a force of clarity and peace in a world addicted to drama. This ability to remain still, to hold your center amidst the chaos, is the ultimate expression of inner sovereignty. It is the solid ground. The power of non-reaction creates an unshakable center, a still point of inner peace in the midst of a chaotic world. But this sacred inner sanctuary, once discovered, requires a structure to protect it. It needs a form that defines where you end and the rest of the world begins. This is not a wall built of fear to isolate you. It is a beautiful, intelligent, and living structure, built from the materials of self-respect and self-love. This is the sacred architecture of boundaries. For many of us, especially those taught that our value lies in our service to others, the very word boundary can feel selfish or unkind. We have been conditioned to believe that a loving heart is an open door, accessible to all, at all times. But an open door allows not only friends to enter, but also thieves and vandals. A heart with no boundaries is not a sanctuary. It is a thoroughfare, trampled and exhausted by the traffic of the world's demands and dramas. To understand boundaries, imagine your energy, your time, your emotional well-being, and your inner peace as a beautiful, magnificent garden. It is your life's work to cultivate this garden, to tend its soil, to nurture its growth. A person with no boundaries is like a public park. Anyone can wander in, throw their trash on the ground, pick the flowers, trample the tender shoots, and leave a mess for you to clean up. The result is burnout, resentment, and a garden that can never truly flourish. A boundary is not an act of aggression towards the people outside. It is the loving act of building a fence around your sacred garden. The purpose of the fence is not to block the sunlight of love and connection. Its purpose is to give you a gate, and you, as the sovereign gardener, get to decide when to open that gate, how wide to open it, and for whom. It is the simple, profound declaration that you get to choose what you allow into your sacred space. This architecture has several distinct, yet interconnected forms. The most foundational is the energetic boundary. This is the most subtle and yet the most important fence you can build. It is the conscious management of your own vibrational field. You have felt the need for this boundary your entire life. It is the feeling of being drained after spending time with a perpetually negative or dramatic person. It is the feeling of carrying someone else's anxiety or sadness long after you have parted ways. An energetic boundary is the conscious decision to no longer allow this unsolicited transfer of energy. It is the understanding that you can be in the presence of someone's chaotic energy without letting it permeate your own. In practice, this can be as simple as visualizing a protective sphere of light around your body before entering a difficult situation. It is the internal commitment that says, I will witness your energy, but I will not absorb it. I will maintain the integrity of my own field. This is the first and most vital layer of your fence. Next is the emotional boundary. This is the crucial understanding that you are not responsible for other people's feelings. Many of us, particularly empaths, become emotional sponges. We see another's sadness and we feel it as our own. We see their anger and we feel compelled to soothe it. An emotional boundary is the line that separates "I can see that you are sad" from "I am now sad too." It is the difference between empathy, which is feeling for someone, and enmeshment, which is feeling with them to the point of losing yourself. A healthy emotional boundary says, I can sit with you in your darkness, but I will not extinguish my own light to do so. Your feelings are valid, and they are yours. My feelings are valid, and they are mine. This allows you to offer genuine compassion and support without becoming a casualty of their emotional state. It keeps your garden from being flooded every time your neighbor's sprinkler system breaks. Finally, there are the most concrete forms: time and physical boundaries. This is the fence at its most tangible. This is the power of the sacred word, number. Your time and your physical energy are finite, precious resources. Without boundaries, this resource will be plundered by the endless demands of the world. A time boundary is the right to say, I am not available for that. It is the right to schedule time for rest, for solitude, for joy, and to protect that time as fiercely as you would a business appointment. A physical boundary is the right to control your own space, to decide who you allow close to you, and to state your needs regarding touch and presence. To learn to say a clean, guilt-free no is to install a strong and beautiful gate in your garden fence. The setting of a boundary is an art of both energy and language. The energy of a healthy boundary is not angry, defensive, or apologetic. It is calm, grounded, firm, and rooted in self-respect. Think of it as fierce compassion for yourself first. You are not pushing the other person away. You are holding your own ground. The language of this energy is simple and clear. We are often tempted to justify, argue, defend, or explain our boundary. This is a mistake. It implies that the other person has a right to debate your needs, that your no is subject to their approval. It is not. A healthy boundary statement is clean. Instead of a long, apologetic story, "Oh, I am so terribly sorry. I wish I could help you move, but my cousin has a thing, and I've been so tired." And you offer the simple truth. "Thank you for asking, but I can't." Or, "I'm not able to take that on right now." Or simply, number. You do not owe the world a dissertation on why your peace is important. Your no is a complete sentence. When you first begin to build this fence, you must expect pushback. The people who have benefited from your lack of boundaries will not be pleased with the new construction. They are accustomed to having free access to your garden. When they encounter the fence and the locked gate for the first time, they will test it. They may call you selfish. They may accuse you of changing. They may try to manipulate you with guilt. They may express anger and indignation. You must understand this for what it is. It is a test. They are rattling the gate, checking to see if it is real. Your only task is to calmly, repeatedly, and without anger, hold your ground. Their reaction is their work to do, not yours. It is their response to not being able to trample your garden anymore. Over time, an amazing thing happens. The people who are capable of respecting you will learn to respect your fence. They will learn to knock at the gate. And the people who are incapable of respecting your boundaries will fade from your life. Either outcome is a profound blessing for you and for the health of your sacred garden. Building this architecture is one of the most radical acts of self-love you will ever perform. It is the declaration that you are worthy of your own care. It is the statement that your inner peace is a priority. It is the structure that allows your true self, your authentic nature, to finally have a safe space in which to grow, to blossom, and to flourish, protected from the relentless noise and demands of the outer world. And once your garden is protected by this beautiful, strong, and intelligent fence, you find that you can look out at the world with a new sense of peace and strength. You are no longer afraid of what might get in, of who might drain you, of what drama might entangle you. This newfound safety, this sovereign stillness, allows you to cultivate an even higher form of perception, the ability to see the chaos and pain of the world clearly, with an open and loving heart, but without ever again becoming lost in it. This is the art of compassionate detachment. With the sacred architecture of your boundaries firmly in place, you no longer fear the world. The winds of other people's dramas may howl, the rains of their sorrows may fall, but within the protected sanctuary of your own being, you remain centered and at peace. From this newfound position of safety and strength, you can now look out upon the struggles of others not with fear, but with a new and profound clarity. This stability sets the stage for one of the most advanced and liberating spiritual faculties you can cultivate. It is the ability to be a force for healing in the world without being destroyed by it. It is the fine and holy art of compassionate detachment. To understand this art, we must first use a powerful metaphor. Imagine you are standing on the shore of a vast ocean, and you see someone in the water, struggling, drowning in the waves of their own pain. The untrained, instinctual response, born of a good heart, is to immediately dive into the churning water to save them. This is the way of enmeshed empathy. You feel their panic, you feel their pain, so you jump in and feel it with them. But the drowning person, in their terror, will often flail, grasp, and pull their would-be rescuer under with them. Now, there are two people drowning. This is the story of so many healers, helpers, and empaths. Their own well-being sacrificed in a noble but unskilled attempt to save another, resulting only in shared suffering. Compassionate detachment is the way of the wise lifeguard. The lifeguard does not dive in blindly. They plant their feet firmly on the solid ground of the shore, their own centeredness, their own boundaries. From this stable vantage point, they can assess the situation with clarity. They can see the currents, they can see the person's state, and they can act with skill and precision. They feel a profound sense of compassion, a deep desire to alleviate the suffering, but they do not allow the panic of the victim to become their own. They hold the rope, and they throw it skillfully. They are deeply invested in the outcome, but their safety is not contingent upon it. This is compassionate detachment, to stand firmly on the shore of your own sovereignty while extending a helping hand to those adrift in the sea of their own turmoil. To master this faculty, we must first untangle a great misunderstanding that lies at the heart of our relationships: the confusion between empathy, sympathy, and compassion. Sympathy says, "I feel sorry for you." It is an emotion born of pity. It creates a distance, a sense of me here in my safety, and you over there in your suffering. It is a subtle form of judgment, and while it may be well-intentioned, it is not a powerful force for connection or healing. Empathy says, "I feel your pain." This is a crucial human ability, the capacity to resonate with the emotional state of another. It is the bridge that allows us to connect. But unchecked empathy, as we have seen, is jumping into the water. It is taking on another's anxiety, another's sadness, another's anger, and carrying it in your own body as if it were yours. This path leads inevitably to burnout, resentment, and a compromised ability to help anyone. Compassion is the higher synthesis of these two. Compassion says, "I see your pain, and I am moved to help." Notice the two vital components. First, there is the clear seeing, the acknowledgement of the suffering. Second, there is the internal motivation, the benevolent desire to see that suffering lessened. What is crucially absent is the requirement that you take the suffering on yourself. Compassion is the lifeguard's mindset. It is inherently wise. It contains within it the understanding that the most helpful thing you can do for a drowning person is to not drown alongside them. This is where detachment comes in. The word detachment is often met with suspicion. We equate it with coldness, indifference, apathy, or emotional unavailability. But that is not detachment, that is dissociation. That is a trauma response, a shutting down of the heart. True spiritual detachment is not cold, it is radiantly warm, but it is also free. It is not detachment from the person you are helping, it is detachment from the outcome and detachment from the drama. Detachment from the outcome is one of the most challenging and liberating lessons of the spiritual path. It is the understanding that you can offer your love, your wisdom, your resources, your help. You can throw the rope with all your skill and good intention, but you cannot force the other person to take hold of it. Their journey is their own. Their choices belong to them. Their healing is their own sacred responsibility. To become attached to a specific outcome for them, to need them to heal in the way you think they should, is to step out of compassion and into the realm of the ego. It becomes about your need to be a successful savior, not about their sovereign journey. You must love them enough to let them have their own experience, even if that experience involves them making choices you would not make for them. You offer the rope, and then you release the outcome to the universe. This is an act of profound respect for their soul's autonomy. Detachment from the drama is the practical application of non-reaction. Drama is a vortex of energy that requires participants playing specific roles. To be detached from the drama is to refuse to be cast in their play. When a friend comes to you with a story of being wronged, you can listen with an open heart. But detachment means you do not automatically take their side and demonize the other person. You do not get swept up in the us against them energy. You listen to their pain without becoming a character in their revenge plot. You can offer comfort without co-signing their story of victimhood. This detachment from the narrative allows you to maintain your clarity and to see the situation from a higher perspective, which is far more helpful to them than simply adding another voice to their echo chamber of resentment. The practice of compassionate detachment, therefore, is a dynamic dance between an open heart and a grounded being. It begins by anchoring yourself in your own center, on the firm shore, established by your boundaries and your practice of non-reaction. When you encounter another's suffering, the first step is to consciously plant your feet. Feel your connection to the earth. Breathe into your own core. Remind yourself, I am here. I am safe in my own being. From this anchored place, you open your heart. You let the energy of compassion flow from you like a warm light. You see their pain, you acknowledge it, you honor it. You might say, that sounds incredibly painful. I am so sorry you are going through that. You are witnessing, not absorbing. From this stable, witnessing presence, you can then ask the lifeguard's question, what is the most skillful and truly helpful action I can take right now? The answer is often not what you think. Sometimes, the most skillful action is simply to listen deeply, to hold that silent canvas for them without any attempt to fix or advise. Sometimes, the rope you throw is a single powerful question that helps them to see their own situation with new eyes. A question like, what do you need right now? Or, what is within your power to change? Sometimes, it is practical help. And sometimes, the most compassionate and respectful action is to do nothing at all. It is to recognize that this is their storm to navigate, their lesson to learn, and your intervention would only serve to hinder their own growth. This is the hardest rope to hold on to, the rope of inaction, born of deep trust in their soul's journey. Living this way is the key to your own freedom. It frees you from the crushing weight of a world full of pain you cannot solve. It frees you from the frustration of trying to control people and outcomes. It frees you from the guilt that arises when you cannot save someone from themselves. It makes your compassion sustainable, allowing you to be a beacon of light in the world without burning out your own wick. This is the stance that allows for the purest and most unconditional form of love, because your love is no longer conditional upon the other person's choices or their progress. You can love them fully, right where they are, in the middle of their messy, beautiful human struggle. This is the heart of the spiritual warrior, strong enough to stand alone and open enough to love the world. And when you can stand on this shore of your own being, offering this clear, unwavering and compassionate presence to each person you meet, you begin to see that the individual stories of struggle, the personal reasons for drowning, all start to echo one another. You begin to perceive the great, collective human story that is playing out in every single life. You move from seeing individual dramas to understanding the one shared drama of the human condition. We arrive now at the most intimate, the most challenging, and the most rewarding terrain of our entire journey. We have looked outward, learning to see the masks, the scars, and the shared story of humanity. Now, we must take all that we have learned and turn the full force of our perception inward, into the disowned territories and forgotten landscapes of our own psyche. We must have the courage to enter the dark theater of the self, for it is here that the true source of our most powerful judgments and most intense reactions resides. We must be willing to face our own shadow. The shadow, a concept brought into the light by the great psychologist Carl Jung, is the container for all the parts of ourselves that we have deemed unacceptable. It is not, as is often misunderstood, a repository of pure evil. It is simply the collection of all the natural human traits that we were taught by our parents, our culture, and our society were bad, wrong, unlovable, or inappropriate. Into this psychic basement we cast our anger, our greed, our vulnerability, our passions, our wildness, our laziness, our fear. We build a persona, a bright and respectable living room for the world to see, and we lock the door to the basement, pretending it doesn't exist. But these banished parts of ourselves do not disappear. They live on in the darkness of our unconscious, and they gain power there. And because they are not allowed to be expressed consciously, they find another way to be seen. They make themselves known through projection. Projection is the unconscious act of attributing our own disowned traits to other people. It is the only way the psyche can see what it has refused to own. The brighter the light of our conscious persona, the darker and more defined the shadow it casts. And the fundamental law of the shadow is this: that which infuriates, irritates, or disgusts you most in another person is, in all likelihood, a disowned part of yourself. The emotional charge, the trigger, is the telltale sign that you are not reacting to the other person's behavior, but to the echo of your own shadow. Imagine your psyche as a house. You keep your own basement dark and messy, filled with things you'd rather forget. You don't see your own mess. Instead, you spend your time looking through your front window at your neighbor's house, and you become enraged by the mess you perceive in their basement. You judge them, you criticize them, you talk about how unacceptable their mess is. But what you are really seeing is a reflection of your own disowned clutter. The intense emotional energy of your judgment is the key. It is your own soul crying out, "Look at this part of you that you have refused to see." Let us make this real. Consider the hyper-productive, relentlessly busy person who is filled with contempt for those they see as lazy. The lazy person becomes the object of their scorn. But what is truly happening? The productive person has likely banished their own natural, healthy need for rest, for stillness, for non-doing, into their shadow. They cannot give themselves permission to be unproductive, so they despise this quality when they see it mirrored in another. Their anger at the lazy person is actually a disguised anger at themselves for not allowing a moment of peace. The very sight of someone resting triggers their own internal slave driver. Consider the person who prides themselves on being endlessly kind, patient, and agreeable. The one who is horrified and repulsed by any display of anger or aggression in others. They have cast their own healthy anger, their own power, their own capacity to say no and set boundaries, into the deepest part of the basement. They believe anger is a destructive, unspiritual emotion, and so, when they encounter someone who expresses anger freely, they are not just seeing that person's emotion, they are being confronted by the terrifying ghost of their own caged rage. Their disgust and judgment is a defense mechanism to keep their own shadow locked away. This dynamic also works in reverse with what is called the golden shadow. We do not only disown our negative traits, we often disown our greatest strengths. If you were taught as a child not to be too big for your britches, not to show off, not to be too proud, you may have repressed your own brilliance, your own power, your own unique genius. You pack it away in the shadow because you learned that it was safer to be small. And how does this golden shadow reveal itself? Through projection, as hero worship. The people you put on a pedestal, the ones whose talent, courage, or charisma leaves you awestruck, they are often mirroring back to you the magnificent parts of yourself you have yet to claim. Your intense admiration is your soul's whisper, reminding you, you have this in you too. It is time to unlock your own gold. The journey of soul sight is therefore incomplete without the courage to do this inner work. The goal is not to eliminate the shadow that is impossible. The goal is to integrate it. It is the conscious decision to take a lantern, walk down the basement stairs, and see what is actually there. It is the process of bringing the disowned parts of yourself back into the light of your own loving awareness. This is shadow work. It begins with radical self-honesty, using your triggers as a guide. When you feel that intense emotional charge toward another person, either positive or negative, that is your cue. You pause and you ask the hard questions. What is it about this person that is activating me so strongly? Where in my own life do I exhibit a version of this trait, even if it is subtle? What would it feel like to own just 1% of this quality in myself? The next step is to find the hidden gift within the shadow trait. Every repressed energy has a core of neutral power that can be used for good. The gift within your repressed anger is your passion, your life force, your ability to protect what you love and to say no to what harms you. The gift within your repressed laziness is the capacity for deep rest, for being, for trusting the universe. The gift in your repressed fear is the wisdom of caution and discernment. Shadow work is the alchemical process of reclaiming the pure energy of these traits from the distorted forms they have taken in the darkness. When you do this work, you begin to heal. You become more whole. As you make peace with your own capacity for anger, another's anger no longer hooks you. You can meet it with the calm of compassionate detachment. As you embrace your own need for rest, another's laziness no longer infuriates you. It simply is. You reclaim the vast amounts of energy you were spending on keeping the basement door locked and judging your neighbors. This reclaimed energy becomes available to you as vitality, creativity, and joy. You become a less judgmental, more compassionate, and far more powerful human being because you are no longer at war with yourself. You are no longer afraid of your own darkness, and so the darkness in others loses its power over you. This brave journey into the shadow, this willingness to turn the light of your awareness onto your own disowned parts, has a profound effect on your very being. As the inner noise of your own projections and judgments begins to subside, your entire energetic system becomes clearer, purer, and more finely tuned. This newfound inner silence allows you to perceive the world on a much more subtle level. You begin to feel the very texture of reality, the frequency of consciousness itself. You learn to sense the unmistakable, harmonious vibration of truth and its discordant, jarring echo, the vibration of deception. As the inner noise of your own shadow judgments begins to subside, as you reclaim the lost parts of yourself from the basement of your psyche, your entire being undergoes a profound purification. The static of your own projections clears, your perception, no longer distorted by the echoes of your past, attunes to a new level of subtlety. You begin to move beyond interpreting actions and words, beyond even the general feeling of energetic currents. You start to sense the very texture, the very frequency of consciousness itself as it manifests in the world around you. You are now ready to learn the most direct and unfiltered language of reality. You are ready to perceive the vibration of truth and its discordant shadow, the vibration of deception. Ancient mystics have always known, and modern physics now affirms, a fundamental principle of existence. Everything is vibration. The chair you are sitting on, the light filling the room, the very thoughts you are thinking are not solid, static things. They are patterns of energy, vibrating at different frequencies. Your thoughts of love create a different energetic frequency than your thoughts of fear. An intention of generosity vibrates differently than an intention of greed. And most importantly for our journey, the intention of truth vibrates at a frequency entirely different from the intention of deception. Your body, when cleared of its own inner static, is the most sophisticated vibrational receptor in the known universe. Learning to read this vibration is not a mental process of analysis. It is a somatic process of feeling. It is the art of listening with your entire being. Let us first explore the signature of truth. Truth has a vibration that is unmistakable once you learn to recognize it. It is resonant, coherent, and expansive. Think of a perfectly cast bronze bell. When struck, it produces a single, clear, pure tone that seems to ring on forever. It vibrates in perfect harmony with itself. The vibration of truth feels like this in your own being. When you are in the presence of someone speaking their truth, their energy feels simple, open, and calm. It creates a feeling of resonance within you, a sense of alignment and peace. There is no internal conflict in the person speaking, and therefore their energy field is coherent and harmonious. It feels light, not because it is trivial, but because it is unburdened by the weight of contradiction. You can feel this resonance physically. When someone is speaking a deep and honest truth to you, you may feel a subtle relaxation in your own body. Your solar plexus might soften. Your chest might feel warm and open. Your breath will be easy and deep without you having to think about it. There is a feeling of being grounded, a sense of rightness and clarity in the space between you. The nature of truth is that it is fundamentally simple. It does not require a complex story, an elaborate defense, or a team of supporting arguments. It just is. It stands on its own, clean and unadorned. This is why its vibration is so pure. It is a clean, simple sine wave of energy. When you are in its presence, you feel settled. There is nothing for your mind to figure out. Your body simply recognizes the harmony and relaxes into it. Now, let us turn to the signature of deception. Deception, by its very nature, creates a vibration that is dissonant, chaotic, and contractive. If truth is the sound of a perfectly cast bell, deception is the sound of an out-of-tune piano, with multiple jarring notes being struck at once. It creates a feeling of offness, a subtle but palpable sense of wrongness in your being. It is the static on a radio station that prevents the clear music from coming through. When you are in the presence of deception, you feel this dissonance. The energy feels complex, convoluted, and effortful. It feels heavy because it is burdened by the immense effort of its own creation. This signature can also be felt physically as a form of somatic repulsion. In the presence of a lie, you might feel a subtle tightening in your gut, a clenching in your stomach. Your jaw might tense. You may feel a subconscious impulse to take a step back, to create distance. Your breathing might become shallow or constricted. There is often a feeling that can only be described as an energetic ick, a sense of something being stagnant or unclean. This is your body's intelligence recoiling from the dissonant frequency. The reason for this chaotic vibration is simple. Deception is an act of profound inner conflict. To tell a lie, a person must simultaneously hold the truth in their mind, what actually happened, and, at the same time, construct, broadcast, and defend the falsehood. They are trying to broadcast two contradictory signals at once. This inner battle, this war between their knowledge and their words, creates a jagged, incoherent, and dissonant energy field. It is this internal conflict, this lack of integrity in their own being, that you are actually perceiving. You are not detecting a lie with your mind. You are feeling the vibration of their inner war with your body. So, how do you learn to more consciously tune your own instrument to perceive these subtle frequencies? The first and most critical step is to cultivate your own inner silence. You cannot hear a subtle whisper in the middle of a shouting match. The practices of the silent observer and non-reaction are your methods for turning down the volume of your own mental static. The quieter you become inside, the more sensitive you become to the vibrations outside. A still pond reflects the sky with perfect clarity. A turbulent pond reflects only its own chaos. Your inner stillness is the key. With this foundation of stillness, the practice is one of somatic inquiry. When you are listening to someone speak, deliberately shift the focus of your attention. Move it from your analytical mind, which is trying to evaluate the logic of their words, and drop it down into the feeling center of your body, your chest, your gut, your core. As you listen, ask your body, not your mind, one simple question: resonance or dissonance? Forget the words for a moment, just feel the frequency. Does the energy you are receiving create a feeling of harmony and openness inside you? Or does it create a feeling of disharmony and contraction? Trust the first, instantaneous answer. The vibrational read is faster than thought. It is a split-second, holistic feeling. Your rational mind will immediately jump in with justifications, doubts, and analysis, trying to talk you out of what you felt. The practice is to learn to honor that first, pure, somatic hit before it is contaminated by the story-making mind. The best way to calibrate your instrument is to practice with yourself. Stand in front of a mirror, take a deep breath, center yourself, and speak a profound and undeniable truth out loud. Say your own name. Say, "I am alive." Feel the clean, simple, resonant vibration that flows through your body as you speak. There is no inner conflict, and the energy is pure. Now, take another breath and speak a clear and obvious lie. Say, "I live on the surface of Jupiter." Say, "My name is Napoleon." Feel the subtle, jarring dissonance in your own system. Feel the slight, energetic stumble, the internal no that accompanies the spoken word. This is the feeling of deception. By practicing with these clear polarities, you are teaching your body to recognize the two extremes, making you more sensitive to the subtle variations you encounter in others. It is crucial to approach this skill not as a superpower for detecting lies, which is an egoic pursuit that leads to cynicism. This is a tool for discernment and, ultimately, for deeper compassion. When you feel the chaotic vibration of deception coming from someone, you are not just feeling their lie, you are feeling the pain behind it. You are feeling the fear that is motivating them to hide the truth. You are feeling the immense energetic effort they are expending to maintain their inner conflict. This perception does not lead to a sense of superiority. It leads to a compassionate recognition of their struggle. You see that they are trapped in a prison of their own making, and the lie is merely one of the bars on their cell. This ability to perceive the subtle vibrations of truth and deception attunes you to the hidden energetic architecture of reality, especially in the space between individuals. As this faculty grows stronger, as your instrument becomes more and more finely tuned, you begin to see these same patterns of resonant truth and dissonant illusion playing out on a much larger scale, far beyond one-on-one interactions. You start to see through the grand illusions, the collective stories, and the very fabric of social conditioning itself. You are now ready to begin decoding the matrix of society. Having attuned your perception to the subtle vibrations of truth and deception that flow between individuals, you can now begin to zoom out your focus. You can apply this same refined sensory apparatus not just to a person, but to the grand, intricate, and often invisible systems in which people operate. You begin to see that culture and society are not just collections of individuals, but are vast and powerful, energetic fields, collective dreams woven from shared beliefs, fears, values, and agreements. With your new clarity, you can begin to see the code behind the dream. You are now ready to decode the matrix of society. Imagine that the collective consciousness of your society is a great, powerful river. It has been flowing for centuries, and its currents are strong. When you are born into this river. Its water is the very air you breathe. Its currents, the unquestioned assumptions that guide your life. Most people are like fish swimming in this river. They are not aware of the water, for it is all they have ever known. They are not aware of the current. They simply feel its push and pull as the natural way of things. They believe the direction the river is flowing is the only direction that exists. To decode the matrix is to undergo the shocking and liberating realization that you are in a river. It is the process of learning to pull yourself onto the riverbank, to stand on the firm ground of your own awareness, and to observe the current for what it is. A powerful force, but not the only reality. From this new vantage point on the shore, you can begin to identify the primary currents, the key programs that drive the behavior of those still swimming in the water. One of the most powerful is the current of scarcity and competition. The Matrix constantly broadcasts this message on all frequencies. There is not enough money, not enough status, not enough time, not enough love, not enough good jobs. This foundational belief in lack is the engine of our economic system. It creates a state of perpetual anxiety and striving. It turns your fellow humans not into collaborators, but into competitors in a frantic race for a limited supply of resources and validation. You must get ahead. You must beat the other person. You must accumulate more because you believe in the illusion of not enough. From the riverbank, you see the truth. The universe is a place of infinite abundance, but the Matrix has created an artificial game of scarcity to keep everyone swimming frantically. Flowing alongside this is the current of external validation and pre-packaged success. The Matrix does not just tell you to compete. It tells you what you are competing for. It hands you a catalogue of acceptable dreams. Success looks like this: a certain kind of job, a certain size of house, a certain model of car, a certain type of relationship, a certain number on a bank statement. We are taught from birth to chase these external markers, believing that when we attain them, we will be granted the grand prize, the approval and admiration of the collective. We spend the best years of our lives chasing goals that were not set by our own souls, but were downloaded from the Matrix. We become lawyers when our soul wanted to be a poet. We buy a bigger house when our soul craved more freedom. We are living out a program, a script written by someone else, and we wonder why we feel a deep sense of emptiness even when we are winning the game. From the riverbank, you see the absurdity of it all. You see millions of people running a race they never chose toward a finish line that offers no real prize. To keep the swimmers from questioning the race, the Matrix employs another powerful current, the current of perpetual distraction. A conscious, present, and undistracted population is a threat to the status quo, for such a people would quickly realize they are in a river. And so, the Matrix provides an endless buffet of diversions. It offers the sugar high of mass entertainment, the endless scroll of social media, the manufactured outrage of the 24-hour news cycle, the hollow pursuit of consumerism. It encourages you to be anywhere but here, now. It wants your mind occupied with political drama, celebrity gossip, and the desire for the next product. A distracted mind has no time for deep questions. It has no space for the silence in which the soul's true voice can be heard. From the riverbank, you see this distraction for what it is: a sedative, a tranquilizer for the human spirit, designed to keep everyone swimming with the current, too numb and too busy to look for the shore. And what is the emotional energy that powers all of these currents? It is the great fuel of the Matrix: fear. Fear is the ultimate tool of control. The Matrix programs us with fears from every angle. It teaches us to fear the other, those from a different country, a different culture, a different political party. It teaches us to fear sickness and aging and death, treating these natural processes as enemies to be fought rather than realities to be embraced. It teaches us to fear poverty, to fear failure, to fear being different, to fear being cast out. A population that is afraid is a population that is easy to manipulate. People who are afraid will buy products they don't need. They will vote for leaders who promise a false sense of security, and they will surrender their freedom in exchange for the illusion of safety. They will cling to the familiar currents of the river, terrified of the unknown shores. To see this, to truly decode the Matrix, is not to become a cynical hermit who rejects the world. That is simply another reaction, another game. The goal is to unplug from the unconscious program and to become a conscious participant in your own life. It is the shift from being a swimmer to being the observer on the bank. This doesn't mean you never enter the water again, but when you do, it is a conscious choice. You choose which currents you will engage with and which you will allow to flow past you. You consciously choose your values instead of unconsciously absorbing the values of the collective. You ask yourself, do I accept society's definition of a successful life, or will I have the courage to define it for myself? Do I participate in the outrage and fear propagated by the media, or do I consciously curate my intake of information to support my own inner peace? The power lies in this conscious choice. You see the game of scarcity, and you choose to live from a place of gratitude and abundance. You see the frantic chase for external success, and you choose to pursue your own soul's authentic purpose, even if it looks like failure in the eyes of the world. You see the endless buffet of distraction, and you choose to cultivate the sacred silence of your own presence. You see the currents of fear, and you choose to anchor yourself in love and trust. There can be a loneliness on this path at first. When you step out of the river, The other fish may look at you with confusion or even hostility. You no longer speak their language of complaint, of competition, of fear, of distraction. Your peace may be interpreted as arrogance, your contentment as a lack of ambition, but this initial loneliness is the price of freedom, and it is quickly replaced by a profound sense of integrity and self-possession. You are no longer a puppet of unseen forces. You are no longer a product of your culture. You are a sovereign being, living in alignment with the code of your own soul. To stand on the riverbank, observing the powerful currents of the collective matrix without being swept away by them, requires more than just this powerful awareness. It requires a place to stand. It demands that you have diligently cultivated a reality within yourself that is more real, more nourishing, and more compelling than the illusions of the outer world. You must have built a sanctuary to which you can always retreat. You must have learned to tend to the garden of your inner world. To stand on the riverbank, observing the powerful currents of the collective matrix without being swept away, requires a deep-rooted stability. You cannot find this stability in the outer world of shifting opinions, fleeting successes, and manufactured chaos. It must be built, cultivated, and nurtured within. The ultimate act of rebellion against a frantic and distracting world is to create an inner landscape of profound peace and beauty. You must become the dedicated tender of your own consciousness. You must learn to diligently and lovingly cultivate the garden of your inner world. Imagine that your inner life, your thoughts, emotions, and state of being is a plot of land. For most of us, for most of our lives, this land has been left untended. It has been treated like a vacant lot. The winds of societal opinion have blown random seeds into it. The rains of other people's dramas have flooded it. The weeds of our own habitual negative thinking, worry, anxiety, resentment, self-criticism have grown wild and unchecked, choking out all but the most resilient flowers. We then wander through this overgrown, chaotic thicket of our own minds and wonder why we do not feel at peace. We look to the outer world to give us a momentary beautiful flower, a fleeting pleasure, without realizing we have the capacity to cultivate a paradise within. The most sacred work you will ever undertake is to become the conscious gardener of this inner space. It is the realization that while you cannot always control the weather outside, you have a profound power over the climate and the landscape inside. This is the seat of your true freedom. The first act of any good gardener is to prepare the soil. This means you must be willing to get your hands dirty. You must face the garden as it is, and you must begin the practice of weeding. The weeds are your automatic, negative thought patterns, the conditioned loops of worry and judgment that run constantly in the background. The practice of weeding is the practice of mindfulness. It is not about fighting the thoughts or trying to violently rip them out, for this often strengthens their roots. It is the gentle but persistent act of noticing. As a thought of anxiety arises, you see it clearly. You recognize it. This is the worry weed again. You see it, you acknowledge it, but you do not water it with your attention. You do not get lost in its story. You simply let it be, and you return your focus to the rich soil of the present moment. Each time you do this, you withdraw a little energy from the weed. Over time, deprived of the water of your belief and the sunlight of your attention, the weeds begin to wither. This is a quiet, patient, and daily practice. You are not clearing the entire garden in one day. You are simply tending to it, one weed at a time. A garden cleared of weeds is a place of potential, but if left empty, the weeds will simply grow back. The second great practice, therefore, is the conscious planting of seeds. You must choose what you want to grow in your sacred space. These seeds are your conscious thoughts, your intentions, and your chosen beliefs. The most potent seeds you can possibly plant are the seeds of gratitude. The weed of the matrix is scarcity. The seed of the soul is gratitude. To begin each day by walking through your garden and consciously planting seeds of gratitude for your breath, for the light, for a single good thing in your lives, to change the very chemistry of the soil. It shifts your entire being from a frequency of lack to a frequency of abundance. You also plant seeds through intention. You consciously decide what qualities you wish to cultivate: patience, compassion, courage, peace. You hold these intentions in your heart, planting them in the fertile soil of your awareness, trusting that they will grow. Of course, no garden can flourish without water. The water of your inner world is the practice of stillness and meditation. This is the most crucial element of your cultivation. Meditation is not a complex, esoteric ritual. It is the simple, radical act of stopping. It is sitting down, closing your eyes, and allowing yourself to just be. In these moments of stillness, you are watering the entire garden. The water of your pure, silent awareness cleanses the soil, washing away the residue of stress and anxiety. It nourishes the seeds of your intentions, allowing them to germinate and sprout. It brings a deep, penetrating moisture to the very roots of your being, creating a reservoir of inner peace that you can draw upon even in times of outer drought. Do not see meditation as another task to be completed. See it as the loving act of watering the garden that is you. Without it, the land will become dry, hard, and inhospitable to life. Finally, every garden needs sunlight. The sunlight of your inner world is self-compassion. You cannot cultivate a beautiful garden under the harsh, critical glare of a relentless inner judge. Nothing can grow in a climate of constant self-criticism. The practice of self-compassion is the act of treating yourself with the same warmth, kindness, and understanding you would offer to a beloved friend. It is forgiving yourself for the weeds you have allowed to grow. It is honoring the parts of your garden that are still barren or struggling. It is celebrating every small flower that manages to bloom. It is looking upon the whole of your inner landscape, the beautiful, the messy, the complete, and loving it, not for what you hope it will one day be, but for what it is right now. This warmth of loving acceptance is the sunlight that allows everything in your garden to grow toward its fullest potential. When you commit to being this gardener, when you diligently practice weeding, planting, watering, and shining the light of compassion on your inner world, a profound transformation occurs. You begin to experience a state of inner self-sufficiency. The desperate hunger for validation from the outside world subsides because you are being nourished by the fruits of your own garden. You no longer need another person's praise to feel worthy because you are cultivating your own sense of worth. You no longer need external entertainment to escape your own mind because your mind is becoming a beautiful and peaceful place to be. Your cup begins to fill from within, and soon it overflows. You become a source, not just a seeker. You now have something real and nourishing to offer the world, not out of a sense of depleted obligation, but from the overflow of your own abundance. Your very presence becomes a taste of the peace you have cultivated. This inner garden is your ultimate sanctuary, your fortress of solitude against the chaos of the matrix. When the outer world becomes loud, you can retreat to its quiet pathways. When society bombards you with messages of fear and lack, you can anchor yourself in the truth of your own abundant, peaceful reality. Your inner world becomes more real, more vibrant, and more compelling than the grey illusions of the collective. This cultivation of your inner world is the most vital, the most creative, and the most rewarding work you will ever do. It is the path to unshakable peace, to true freedom, and to divine sovereignty. And when you have diligently cultivated this garden, when its peace is your default state and its abundance your primary reality, your perception undergoes a final and sublime transformation. You move beyond the need to see, to analyze, or to decode. The quiet wisdom of the garden blossoms into an entirely new faculty of perception, one that is direct, instantaneous, and holistic. You graduate from the art of seeing into the grace of knowing. When the garden of your inner world has been so lovingly and diligently tended that its peace becomes your constant companion and its silence your native language, the very nature of your perception begins a final, sublime transformation. The tools you have learned on this journey, the frameworks for observing, the methods for decoding, the analysis of motives and masks begin to feel cumbersome. They were the raft that was absolutely essential to cross the turbulent river of illusion, but you have now reached the other shore. To carry the raft with you on dry land would be a burden. With a silent bow of gratitude for all that it has taught you, you leave it behind. You are now moving beyond the intricate and effortful mechanics of seeing into the simple, effortless grace of knowing. Seeing, the faculty you have been cultivating, is a linear process. It involves the mind. It gathers data from the outside world, a person's energy, their words, their actions, and it analyzes this data against the frameworks of your understanding. It is an act of interpretation, of piecing together fragments to assemble a picture of reality. It asks, why is this person acting this way? And how do these pieces fit together? It is a powerful and necessary stage of awareness, but it still maintains a fundamental separation. There is you, the seer, and there is the object or person being seen. Knowing, however, is of an entirely different order. Knowing is not linear. It is holistic. It does not involve the analytical mind. It involves the whole of your being. It is not an interpretation of data from the outside. It is a direct resonance with the truth of a situation from the inside. Knowing does not ask questions. It simply is. It is the arrival at a state of consciousness where the truth of a thing is perceived instantly, completely, and without the need for intellectual justification. To understand the difference, imagine a complex and beautiful mosaic. The art of seeing is like being very close to the mosaic, carefully examining each individual tile. You note its color, its shape, its texture. You see how it fits with the tiles next to it. After a great deal of patient analysis, you can begin to deduce the overall picture. The grace of knowing is like stepping back from the mosaic and seeing the entire image in a single, breathtaking instant. You do not see the individual tiles anymore. You see the whole picture, all at once. The understanding is not assembled. It is delivered, complete and perfect, in a flash of holistic recognition. This is the nature of its perception, the answer to a situation. The truth of a person's being does not unfold over time. It arrives, fully formed, in a silent moment of insight. This knowing is not just a single piece of information. It is profoundly multi-layered. The mind, when it sees, might conclude, this person is lying. But the consciousness that knows perceives so much more in that same instant. It simultaneously perceives the lie, the dissonant vibration of the words, the contractive energy of the fear that is motivating the lie, the old scar of shame that the fear is protecting, and the collective human story of fear and shame that this person is currently embodying. All of this information, the personal, the energetic, the archetypal, is contained within a single packet of perception. This is why true knowing is inherently compassionate. It is impossible to judge, because the perception of the transgression and the perception of the pain that caused it arrive at the very same moment. You see the brokenness and the beauty, the flaw and the divinity, all held together in a single, unified field. This profound perception does not register as a thought in your head. It is a somatic certainty, a felt sense that settles into your body with an unshakable conviction that requires no external proof. It is not the loud, argumentative certainty of the ego which must defend its position. It is a quiet, deep, resonant hum of truth in your very cells. It is the peace that passeth all understanding. It feels less like learning something new and more like remembering something you have always, on some deeper level, known. There is no effort in it. There is only grace. It arises not from the state of active doing, but from the state of receptive being. This state of grace is not a superpower you acquire. It is the natural blossoming of your consciousness when the proper conditions have been met. It is the reward for the diligent work you have undertaken throughout this journey. It is only possible because of the inner silence you have cultivated. The voice of this deep knowing is a whisper, and it can only be heard when the shouting of the egoic mind has ceased. It is only possible because of the humility you have learned. The practice of examining your own lens, of doing your shadow work, has dismantled the intellectual arrogance that believes it already has all the answers. The ego that needs to be right can never access this deeper, more holistic truth. And it is only possible because of the open heart you have nurtured. A heart closed by fear or cynicism cannot receive this multi-layered, compassionate information. The practice of compassionate detachment, of building loving boundaries, has made your heart a safe vessel, capable of holding the truths of the world without being shattered by them. To live from this place of knowing is to navigate the world with an entirely new guidance system. Decision-making, which was once an agonizing process of weighing pros and cons, becomes radically simplified. You rely less on external data and more on this deep inner resonance. Does this path, this person, this choice feel resonant with the truth of your being? Does it create harmony or dissonance within your soul? You learn to trust this feeling above all else. Your life begins to flow with an uncanny grace, as you are no longer fighting the currents of your own deeper wisdom. Your interactions with others become more fluid, more authentic, more healing, because you are not reacting to their masks or their surface-level dramas, but are responding to the truth of their being, their pain, their potential. Their soul's cry. You become a profoundly calming and clarifying presence. People may not know why, but they will feel seen in your presence, perhaps for the first time in their lives. The fear that once governed your social interactions is replaced by a deep and abiding trust in your own inner guidance system. You know what is true for you. You know when to engage and when to withdraw. You know when to speak and when to remain in the silent power of your presence. This is the peak toward which we have been climbing. The art of seeing through others was never about figuring them out, but about becoming so clear within yourself that their truth became self-evident. It was about polishing your own inner mirror so perfectly that it could not help but reflect the reality before it. Knowing is not a paranormal power. It is our most natural state of being, the birthright of a consciousness that has come home to itself, integrated, silent, and fully present in the sacred now. And as you rest in this state of direct knowing, this effortless perception of the truth in all things, the last and most stubborn illusion begins to dissolve. It is the illusion that there is a knower and a thing that is known, a perceiver and a thing that is perceived. The sense of a separate self, the ultimate boundary, begins to soften and melt. You stand at the precipice of the final realization, the ultimate truth of this journey. You arrive at the final, breathtaking reflection, the truth of oneness. From the high, silent peak of direct knowing, a new and final vista unfolds. It is a view that encompasses not only the entire landscape of human experience, but also the sky that holds it, the light that illuminates it, and the eye that perceives it. From this ultimate vantage point, the very foundation of our journey, the distinction between the observer and the observed, the I who sees and the other who is seen, begins to shimmer and dissolve like a heat haze on the horizon. The last and most persistent illusion, the illusion of a separate self, begins to recede. You are now entering the final reflection, the deep and boundless ocean of oneness. Think of your individual life, your personality, your story, your ego, as a single unique wave in this vast ocean. For all of your life, you have identified with the wave. You have believed that you are the wave. You have been proud of your height, ashamed of your smallness. You have feared the other waves that might crash into you, and you have lived with the constant, underlying terror that you will eventually crash upon the shore and be annihilated. This is the normal human state, the state of the separate self, living in fear, identified with its temporary form. The entire journey of soul sight has been the process of this wave learning to become still. In the stillness, it stopped being tossed about by the winds of its own thoughts and the currents of the collective. And in that stillness, it began to feel something vast, deep, and eternal beneath it. It began to sense the ocean. It began to realize that its entire being was not separate from, but was made of, the ocean. This is the final, breathtaking realization. The wave understands that it is not just a wave, it is the ocean, expressing itself for a brief and beautiful moment as a wave. Its form is unique, but its substance is universal. This does not destroy the wave. It does not annihilate its individuality. It expands its identity to include everything. The fear of other waves vanishes. For how can one part of the ocean fear another? The terror of crashing on the shore, the fear of death, is transformed. It is no longer an end, but a return, a dissolving of the temporary form back into the infinite source of its own being, ready to rise again in a new form. With this realization as your new ground of being, you look out at the world, and you no longer see a world of others. When you look at the person in front of you, you no longer see just a separate, isolated wave. You see the entire, magnificent ocean shimmering through their temporary form. You see the same universal consciousness that animates you, looking back at you through a different set of eyes. Their face becomes another face of the divine. Their pain is not their private suffering. It is a contraction in the same field of consciousness that you inhabit. Their joy is not their personal victory. It is an expansion of that same field. The very concept of judgment becomes absurd. How can you judge another wave when you know, with absolute certainty, that you are both made of the same water? Their flaws are your flaws. Their beauty is your beauty. Their shadow is your shadow. You see that their struggle to stay afloat, their desperate grasping, their fear it is all the struggle of the wave that has forgotten it is the ocean. And in this seeing, all that can possibly arise is a boundless, unconditional, and effortless compassion. You see them not as other, but as your own self, playing a different part in the divine drama. And in this light, the entire journey we have taken is revealed as a beautiful, sacred paradox. The quest to see through others was never about figuring them out. It was the universe, peering through your eyes, in a desperate attempt to recognize itself. It was the ocean, expressing itself as you, on a grand adventure to remember its own nature by observing its countless other forms. Every person you met, every mask you perceived, every scar you honored, every mirror, and every teacher, it was all you. It was all the one self, disguised in a billion beautiful temporary costumes, interacting with itself, teaching itself, healing itself, and ultimately awakening itself from the dream of separation. The search for the truth ends because you realize you are the truth that you were seeking. The desire to find love ends because you realize you are the love that you were looking for. The journey is over because you have arrived where you always were. To live from this state of oneness is to experience a profound homecoming. The frantic energy of the separate self, the endless striving to protect and enhance the little wave, finally relaxes. It can rest because it knows it is held and supported by the infinite expanse of the ocean. A deep and unshakable peace becomes your natural state. A peace that is not dependent on outer circumstances, for it is the very nature of the ocean itself. And from this peace, a new kind of love flows. It is not a transactional love that needs something in return. It is a radiant love that emanates from you simply because you have recognized that there is no other. To love another is the most natural act in the universe, for it is simply the ocean loving itself. The golden rule, to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, ceases to be a moral commandment. It becomes a self-evident, practical reality. To harm another is, quite literally, to harm yourself. To heal another is to heal yourself. The artificial boundary is gone, and only the seamless reality of shared being remains. You will still live your life as a unique and beautiful wave. You will have your name, your history, your preferences, your gifts. You will laugh and you will weep. You will engage with the world, but you will no longer derive your primary identity from this fleeting form. Your true identity, your home base, is rooted in the vast, silent, eternal, and peaceful ocean of being. This was the final destination of our journey. The art of seeing through others was never about gaining a secret power over them. It was about arriving at the sacred realization that there are no others. There is only the one self, the one consciousness, the one love, reflecting itself in a billion miraculous forms. It is the end of seeing and the beginning of simply, magnificently being. And so, our journey through the intricate landscape of perception comes to a quiet close. We have traveled from the inner witness to the outer world and back again, only to find they were never separate. We have seen the masks, the scars, the stories, and the shared single consciousness that animates us all. Now, there is nothing left to analyze, nothing left to decode. There is only the stillness of being. Let the final image that rests in your awareness be that of a perfectly still mountain lake at dawn. The air is calm, the water is like glass, a flawless mirror. In its surface, it reflects with perfect clarity every detail of the world above. The vast, silent sky, the sharp peaks of the mountains, the slow drift of a single cloud. The lake does not need to try to see the sky. It does not need to strive to be a perfect reflection. Its clarity is not an act of doing, but a result of its own inner stillness. When it is still, it cannot help but reflect the truth of what is. Your mind is this lake. For so long, it has been agitated by the winds of your thoughts, the currents of your emotions, the storms of your reactivity. The surface has been choppy and turbulent, and the reflection of the world has been fractured and distorted. You looked upon this distorted reflection and believed it to be reality. The journey you have taken was never about learning to see the sky more clearly. It was always, only, about learning to still the waters of your own mind. It was about realizing that clarity is not something you achieve, it is something you allow. It is your natural state. The truth of the world, the truth of others, was never hidden from you. You were simply creating too much inner turbulence to see the perfect reflection that was always available. Carry this understanding with you. When you find yourself lost in confusion, when the actions of others seem baffling and painful, do not try harder to figure them out. Do not strain your eyes to see through the murky water. Instead, turn your attention inward. Find a way to still your own lake. Take a breath. Step back from the story. Find the silent observer within. As your own inner waters grow calm, the reflection of the world will, by its own nature, become clear once more. If there is one truth to take with you from this space, one key to hold in your heart, let it be this: clarity outside begins with silence inside. Clarity outside begins with silence inside. There is nothing more you need to know. There is only this to practice. The journey of seeing is complete. The journey of being is now. Go now and carry this peaceful silence with you. Let it be your offering to the world.